Right, welcome to Rambling Achieved. Back at it again with another duo video with Brandon. Glad to have you
Howdy
back,
ho
buddy.
ho. Dude, I'm pumped to be here, man. This is a fun topic that you hit me with.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. I think it was because it's now the 19th. This was sent like a week, 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Hmm.
I think it was in the lead up to because the ROG thing hadn't released, and I saw people
Mm.
talking about it, and it kind of got that kind of rolling as like a thing in my head of obviously gaming in 10 years and what it's going to be like. So that's kind of what this topic is going to be. It's just going to be a bunch of different questions. So it's not going to just be a broad thing. We're going to be trying to peel back layers and layers and different stuff. And like I said, I've hit you with some questions, but if you just punch the mic, if you think of any that obviously we miss out on, or if we're in the middle of something and can peel it back even further, feel free to tap on in.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the perfect time as well to like look 10 years ahead because we're in 2025 and that's kind of like one of that's your middle period. We're halfway through the 2020s. And so we're going to be looking ahead to like halfway through the 2030s. Like, what the hell is that going to look like? I think that doing these every 5 years or so makes some semblance of sense. And maybe if we're still around on the internets, we come back to this in 5 years and it's like, well, how is it looking
How are
at
you so
this point?
naive?
No, for real though.
Because yeah, can you even think back to because obviously it's 2025 now, like 2015, the landscape was different. 2005, landscape was even more different. Like even just in them two amounts of 10-year jumps, like
Mm.
taking yourself back to 2000, gaming isn't anywhere really in the same shape that it was. Like how it's consumed is completely different. Like you still have like further for it and stuff like that, but it went from in 2005 being something very, very niche. You had some games that absolutely took the world by storm and stuff. I remember seeing people post back when you would load up like Halo and COD. It showed how many people were online at the time, and there was at one point I think I saw the Halo had like 1 million people online at one time on a in a era where like online gaming really wasn't like it wasn't mandatory like it kind of is now. Like a lot
Right.
of people didn't plug it in. They played stuff offline as well. So that's 1 million people that hooked up to the internet and was like, yeah, man, I want to play Halo multiplayer. Let's go. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, and you see so often now games that hit 10 million sales, 12 million in sales. Like, I don't think people understand that back in the day, even though there were 100 plus, 180 PlayStation 2s in the wild, and like games typically, when they were like big hit games, sold 6, 7 million copies,
Mm.
and that was kind of their ceiling. It's that definitely has changed where you do have like these smash Hogwarts Legacy style Elden Ring style single player games that go on and just break through to a God of War Ragnarok Spider-Man, these humongous single player things that, but it's at the same time, I look back even to 1985, 1995, and I am surprised how much has changed, but I think I'm equally surprised how much has stayed the same. Where you are still, I mean, how many times have we heard people prognosticate and predict that this is going to be the last console generation we're going to be playing directly on our TV? We're all going to be playing mobile games. Everything's going to, and it's like, it just keeps becoming you buy a new console and you play the games. And sure, our method of consumption through like digital purchases online and like you don't go to your EB Games and CEX and GameStop and wait in line. Like there's definitely things that have changed, but it's kind of nice as well to see as much that has changed equally, if not more, has stayed the same in some areas, which is kind of relieving a little bit because I like how things are and I don't really want it to change too much.
Yeah, platforms have largely remained the same. Nintendo's kind of pivoted into that handheld market a little bit more because it was the Wii and the 3DS or 2DS, right? That kind of coexisted together. They overlapped, right, in that time
Hmm.
frame. So they were given a normal standard console and a handheld, and then they tried to bridge that gap with the Wii U after that,
Yep.
and it kind of didn't work. I think they kind of jumped the gun a little bit too early, and that's why when the Switch came out, they kind of perfected it. They
Yep.
they they stuck by it because they were like, this can work, it just can't work right now. Um, and then you have like the Xbox doing the shenanigans now. It's kind of only PlayStation that's kind of kept it very very simple because they even with the Switch's boom, they they obviously had the Vita and the PSP in the past, but they kept it very simple with their reintroduction into a handheld thing by just doing the Portal. Like
Mm,
that it was just simple, like remote play. We don't want to overthink it, and like it's also just testing the waters. How many people really want to be playing handheld? I don't
yeah.
know. I don't have the sales figures for the Portal, but I don't imagine it set the world ablaze. It's that thing of just it's just a niche product.
Right. Yeah. I think it probably did better than they expected, which
Hmm.
might be why they are moving ahead with their plans for like a handheld PlayStation 6 or whatever they're going to end up rolling out. Based on Moore's Law is Dead, he's kind of leaked that it might be slightly more powerful than a PS5 Pro, I believe is what he said. But can play a lot of your PlayStation 6 titles, and like that would be very appealing. And he's
That's the
talked about he
handheld.
wants it.
You said
Yeah, their next generation handheld potentially.
that's gonna be
Um,
expensive.
well, he's saying that right now they're trying to target like I think 450, 550 for their next handheld and take a loss on it to sell the games. Um,
Mm,
and but pricing and all that, I mean, who the hell knows with the tariff situation, and maybe they launch it. Right now, the talk is 2027, and I think you wait till like 2028, 2029. Honestly, I think that's probably the best move, and to just give this generation a little bit more juice before, because I think you want to end the generation strong and then lead into something new, and have people feeling like you got to regain some trust. And I guess that could kind of lead into your first question here. Just talking about the big three in general
mm.
is like, I think the state of all three of them are in such different positions to where, like, when I'm looking ahead at the next generation of consoles, I'm just like, man, I PlayStation is obviously selling like hotcakes with the PS5, but I don't know, I don't feel a overall sense of satisfaction amongst the maybe that's just the internet as well though, and
Yeah, it
maybe
could
the
be
internet's never
skewing it.
satisfied. But yeah, I
I
think they do need to rebuild some goodwill.
well because the thing is that you see how many people are still on PS4 as well that have
Exactly.
refused to move to PS5. So if you have that kind of percentage of a core player base still on that, and then you have people on the PS5, and if those people on the PS5 are like, because there's a lot of people like you said, you don't know how much of it is skewed with the internet. Maybe there is a massive hunger to move on. Although I would find that very hard to believe because it still feels like we haven't seen these systems. That's both systems. That's not just PlayStation getting thrown shade at. Xbox hasn't really shown something to push the system to the max. Like I think, as I said, the most impressive games I've seen is like Death Stranding 2, like Ghost of Yotei, maybe to a degree, but a lot of it is like they showed that flair still with the PS4 with Tsushima. Like there's improvements, of course, but it shows just how much optimization can get you, which is
Hmm.
what seems to have been fallen by the wayside this generation for a lot of people. Is just kind of trying to brute force things out there and not give as much time to optimization and just see how it goes, fix in post kind of thing. Because you have, I saw, I think Silent Hill 2 remake is coming to, is it PlayStation Plus or something?
Hmm.
And there were people still complaining that there hasn't been fixes for the Pro still a year later. And it's just like, holy shit, like you can't, there's like, don't prioritize it in the moment when the game's at its launch, of course, because it's not a particular, but a year later, and you shouldn't still be able to pick out problems with it. Like that's crazy. And that's kind of the worry is that they don't really care about that. So is the consumer going to really care about moving on?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing because nobody gives a shit about the PlayStation 5 Pro outside of Sony first party. Like I shouldn't say nobody, but the games are just not optimized for that thing in the way that they should be. And everybody seems fairly satisfied with their Series X and PS5 like base versions and
Hmm.
having like that additional little enhancement. It's like I it's maybe Grand Theft Auto 6 is the game that oh it runs at 60 on PS5 Pro and it runs at 30 on base PS5 and maybe that's it, but I don't think that Rockstar they're not even going to release that thing on PC day
No,
one. So
yeah.
it's like I don't think that they're going to prioritize a user base of 4 million people opposed to a user base of 80, 90, 100 million people.
They're also like they would happily charge for that as well as an upgrade, as they did with GTA 5, doing the next gen version and stuff like that. They would happily make it 30 FPS and say that it will not go below that.
Right.
We are the people who deliver quality, and to not compromise on that quality, you won't see it dip below 30. But we have to wait till the next generation, and that will be the push, because that's the thing as well of with you not seeing. I think I've said this on your channel several times. The reason I got a One X was for two games, and it's because you could not play them on the original Xbox. You don't have that problem anymore. That doesn't you don't you're not being pushed into that, and that was Cyberpunk. I couldn't play. Really wanted to play it. It was unplayable on an Xbox One base version.
Oh
Couldn't
yeah.
play it. And then PUBG was the big hit, massive new thing at the time. And if you were playing that on Xbox One and you landed, the map wouldn't load. That's unplayable. Whereas with an Xbox One X at the time, it had enough memory and enough juice to be able to play them at a playable level. And that's the thing of like we don't really see that in gaming anymore. Like you can pick apart like certain things, but there's not really a game where you're like it's unplayable on a PS5. I've not felt that. I've not felt like a game on the Series X is unplayable. Maybe you've experienced the game, but I would highly doubt that.
No.
I think that's the thing of like they're not pushing it to the max. They've kind of just given the bar is there, and because quality has been moved so high up, that again, what's the allure to move on?
Well, it's so interesting too, where you look at Grand Theft Auto 6 about to launch in 2026, and you look at GTA 5 launched in 2013, and then the PS4, is I guess that year. But think about it more realistically, is like the PS4 was a 2014 console because holiday 2013. You know what I'm saying? It's you, and theoretically, GTA 6 comes out 2026, the PS6 comes out in 2027. You're in the exact same scenario where Grand Theft Auto 6 can launch the following year on a PlayStation 6 and like you said 60 frames per second there. It's I don't think they're even looking at the PlayStation 5 Pro as anything whatsoever like of any to do anything with. And it's I don't really I think that that was I think that that was a system that was launched because I think Moore's Law is Dead also talked about there were internal discussions about scrapping it, the PlayStation 5 Pro, and just being like, we don't have much of a need to release this thing. And at the price point that we're going to release it at, it's going to get us bad PR. But they were already so deep in development of it that they were just like, fuck it, we're going to throw it out here. We're going to throw it at a premium price point. We know it's not going to sell crazy, but we've already been making these things. We got to get them out the door. And that actually gave me a little bit of reassurance for the PlayStation 6, where they do look at the PS5 Pro seemingly from his reporting as like a very niche thing. And they know that that price point is like not for normal people.
Mm.
And so that makes me think that the PlayStation 6 isn't going to be in that crazy range, which is, I hope. I really hope.
Yeah, because obviously the question is, will the big three still be around? And that's they all need to execute their own plan themselves, and they need to do things differently. It feels like, and that's where like Sony definitely, other than that outlier of the PS5 Pro, it does feel like if they are gonna maintain that like death grip, on the home console. You need to just make it affordable. That's going to be your edge of just keeping Xbox completely ground into the mud whatsoever, because Xbox is brute force, as they always do, brute force their way through and just gone, well, screw it. If we can't sell it, we'll just sell it for more, and we'll market our stuff as the most premium thing, because that's all that when you see anything about the next gen Xbox, whatever, it's going to be more powerful, which they've gone down that route before and it didn't work. So I don't know why they're still bashing that door, but that's going to be their shield of an excuse as to why it's got to be more expensive, because it's going to be more juicy or whatever. And then obviously
Yeah.
Nintendo just does Nintendo things. Did you see the
Yeah.
report coming out from the leaks of how much Pokemon got as a budget
Oh yeah,
compared
that
to
it was like
holy
13 million or
shit?
something
And it's just like,
crazy.
man, that you can definitely see that, and it's just like, man, you need to give some more love. It's not even like a niche property. That's like a big money maker. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. So I think they need to what they need to kind of do is give a bit more meat to some properties.
Well, yeah, yeah, with your question being, will the big three still be around? I had a question kind of back to that in
Mm-hmm.
terms of, so we're talking 2035 for this specific question.
Yep.
And are we looking at this conversation around as console manufacturers
See,
or,
that's where it stemmed from, because I think Nintendo's found the you can't even say niche, but it is like when we're explaining it is it like they do things differently. Where it's that handheld hybrid, that's where they've excelled at. I think that's where they're going to maintain. I don't think they'll ever probably put out a purely dedicated plug in the wall system and you can't take it anywhere, because they've built up this huge back to back fan base of giving the option of portability. PlayStation, I don't think will shake things up. It really is just going to be Xbox that changed like who their core identity is, and that's where that kind of question spun from. But I think they will still be around. But what I'm envisioning in what 2035,
hmm,
I don't think, because already people don't realize a lot of the stuff they don't really make themselves. It is they're partnered anyway. It's not like back in the day where they really did make everything from the ground up themselves. Asus
right.
does a lot of the heavy lifting. I think if they're gonna keep that Xbox division around, like hardware wise, they're just gonna do what they did with the ROG. They're just gonna contract, and they'll just have, say, Asus come in and be like, "You design our console, and we'll go back and forth on the price." And they just want really no hands on, and they'll just put the operating system stuff in it.
Yeah.
They'll just put the brains in the system as to how it functions, and they want nothing to do with production costs and stuff like that. Because especially for Xbox, you look at how many they sold. You look at it every single month. Them sales charts numbers. Like what if you're going to your yearly reportings or whatever, and when you're doing like fund allocation, what excuse do you have to ask for funding to get it greenlit? There isn't.
No.
They're going to turn around and go, "Well, we're last again. We're not only last, we're being outsold by a previous gen console." Because the Switch One is still outselling it. But that's fucking
Right.
crazy, man. That's really bad from a sales number. So in 2035, I could see that they still have hardware, but they won't build it themselves.
Yep. I agree with that exact point. I think it'll be a situation where they slap that X
Mhm.
on a bunch of stuff. And it's like, because the funny thing about this that I don't think people are drawing the comparison to, we've already seen what they've done with Asus and the ROG Ally. They just did that recently with the MetaQuest. Remember where they had the
Yeah,
black
well,
MetaQuest with the
exactly.
Xbox logo on it?
Yeah.
It's not an Xbox. Like it's not a. It has
They
nothing
had
to do with
nothing to do
Xbox.
with it. They had no with the ROG. They had a little bit more input. That's them putting like actual functionality onto it and stuff like that. But again, it's Asus for the ROG did 95% of the lifting, and you came in at the
Yeah.
5%, and the marketing campaign is almost this is Xbox's handheld. No, not quite. Like again, like it has very good functionality with it, but you didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And they didn't do
Well,
anything with that meta quest. From what I understand, it's just again just rebranding.
right. And it's like if it can't play your Xbox library, then it's not an Xbox. It's a brand. Xbox is a brand. And, you know, I think that as a brand, in a weird way, they're stronger than they've ever been.
Oh yeah.
They got Call of Duty and Candy Crush and Diablo and Elder Scrolls and Fallout. And so like as a publisher, Xbox isn't going anywhere.
Mhm.
I think that there's question, concern, conversation to be had about worrying if they do get out of the console ecosystem, even if they do what you're saying, which I think they will, of allowing, Asus and these different, hardware manufacturers to go in and create their handhelds and their consoles and do all the heavy lifting. And then they put a $1,200 price tag on it because Asus doesn't make any money from selling software and Microsoft doesn't want to subsidize anymore for the hardware. And like, okay, sure. I think the worry there becomes without hardware that is selling well, that means less people are buying games on your storefront, which means you're getting less of that 30% cut for every purchase, which then kind of becomes a situation where I look at someone like Double Fine and I'm like, do they exist in 10 years? Do a lot of, because I think a lot of these companies were bought with the intention of making
Yeah.
exclusive Xbox titles. And in that equation, you can go, okay, wait, hold on. We get it. They didn't sell crazy gangbusters for Keeper, but 10,000 people bought an Xbox just because they love Double Fine. And then 50,000 people bought an Xbox just because they love Hellblade 2. And then 450,000 people bought an Xbox because they wanted to play Starfield. And then so you're doing different, analysis for it doesn't just become how much did the game cost? How
Hmm.
much did the game sell? If it didn't meet that cost, cut the studio. Like you get what I'm saying? And so that's where I worry about them getting, and that's why I do really want them at least one more time for their next system to just throw a Hail Mary and be like, listen, we kept this thing at $700. It's the most beefy console. It's the first ever console PC hybrid. It's affordable by and large, right? Like in terms of like we're taking a real hit on this thing to get it to as many people as possible. And if it doesn't sell, hey, we fucking did what we could, man. Now we're
Yeah.
throwing our hands up and we're not taking the hit on this stuff anymore.
Yeah. 700 would be have as low as they would be able to go with it because you can go on like Amazon and stuff like that, and you can pick up pre-built PCs for that roundabout price to become a gaming PC, like enjoyer and stuff like that. So they could do that. I think that ROG being that you know the price that it set in at, they couldn't influence Asus at all in dropping it down in any way. That now that that's been given to them as data, the people that are going to be at Microsoft reading that back will be like, well, why are we going to drop the price of the next one?
Or that, I mean, I am surprised by how well that thing is selling. The ROG Ally, the Xbox ROG Ally. And maybe it could be a situation where they're looking at that data.
It's not the Xbox one. I didn't buy it because I knew I had the feeling that they were going to sell out, and it's not just that. That's not to pat them on the back and be like, yeah, it sold like 30 million. It's the thing of like they just underprint.
They made 7,000
Yeah,
and it sold
like
7,500.
I don't think it's that low. Like it's definitely doing really good numbers for especially what it is. Um, but I wasn't going to sit there and fucking I've never been an enjoy. There's some people who really get into the kick of like sitting in queues and stuff. I couldn't give a shit. Like I was like, it's really not that big of a difference because I'm also wasn't planning on playing the high AAA stuff on it. I don't have an. If I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna play it on the console.
Exactly.
What I'm using that for is stuff that I can't play on the console from the PC that I'm
Yeah.
getting access to.
Mega bonk.
I'm not even that's the thing. I wanted to this is the perfect I guess I'll give like a quick rundown of it because I've been with it. I haven't played with it as much as I should have. I should add. I've been playing with it daily, but it's been in like a before bed, like an hour playing Monster Train and stuff like that. The that what they need to work on, if this is their fucking,
Could you pause this real quick? Because actually, this could be a fun side conversation. Could you pause the recording real quick and we'll hop right back in?
oh, what, to as a brand new video.
No, 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 no. Keep the video as is. Just pause this recording and then we'll continue our handheld conversation as well. Because like I just bought a Steam Deck, so I'll go grab that and
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah,
show you the Steam Deck.
right, and we're back in. I should have
I
undid
got
this before though. This is probably gonna make a lot of noise.
I got my old my fucking 800 pound gorilla here.
I've
It's
I've
so
never seen one in person either,
mhm,
because what I wanted to highlight as well, the big thing I had a problem with when I looked at the Steam Deck, if you show the back of it, where you're holding it,
mhm,
like that's kind of what I regret the most about not grabbing that Xbox One, is the controller handles.
mhm,
Because this is a little bit better than, because I think they released one before and it was like very, very flat. When I was looking at differences, that has a little bit more of a controller esque feel.
right.
But then the newest version is just literally just them plopped on the sides, which I think is a
Mhm.
perfect. But how, I didn't know you got one of them. Awesome. When did you grab it?
Yeah. Did you see it went on sale for $320 for the whatever the 256 GB one or whatever? And like you said, I'm only buying this for Megabonk and Rue Valley and for the Root Trees Are Dead and like games that didn't come to console and to emulate games, which I haven't been able to do. I've really struggled with that. I've followed.
I began that process and was like, I don't have the fucking willpower to do that right now, because it was literally just before the Shocktober event. I was like, I
mm,
can't be sitting here for like hours. Like, I want to be getting onto these horror games. So I'll be trying to pick up that torch where I left it. What did you go with? So, or do you not know?
for emulation.
Yeah.
The MU deck, and then just downloading. Well, I guess is it illegal to say what you do for? I don't know. Anywho, it's yeah. MU deck is what I use, and it goes straight to your Steam library. But
Yep.
I haven't been able like it doesn't show up whenever I do it. And then I looked it up online, and that's been a lot of what I've been doing
No,
with this
exactly.
device is looking things up online to figure out what's wrong, and then finding out it's just a bug, and then being like, oh well, okay. And then it's like, okay, well, turn this off, switch to this, go into your Wi-Fi, reprogram it to that. I'm like, and that's kind of what I wanted to do with this conversation in general is just I want to talk about that is that we have a while to go. Like
Oh
it
yeah.
feels like the wild wild west before
Mm-hmm.
this is not going to appeal to a lot of people, man. I'm not it, it's so funny, Loon. I'm getting more technically minded as I fuck with these laptops and I'm doing OBS and I'm in here fiddling with things and I'm starting to understand a little bit more, but I am not close to a technical savant, but I'm also not close to where I was when I began this YouTube thing where I knew nothing about tech. And so that person, me from 6 years ago, that's the majority.
No, yep,
That's the
yep.
average person. So they're going to pick this up and throw it out of a fucking window. Like it,
I It's even crazy because Game Riot, I think his name was. He's like a Let's Player. Posted on Twitter, I think the other day, about him getting the ROG thing, and he was trying to play Battlefield on it, and he's tapping on the screen, and the keyboard's not showing up, and
dude, I,
he's recorded it, and he's gone like, what the fuck? And there's this massive divide of people who criticize him for not understanding it because they know it, they know what to do, and then the other half is like they're worthless devices, and that's the type of thing, like you can't have a device out in the wild where it's that like fucking polarizing, like, because when I was watching it happen, it was like I know how to deal with that with the ROG thing. You have like little command center, and you're able to tab between when you're holding it, the gamepad controls, and then desktop. What would have fixed it is if he would have just clicked the button, switched to desktop, and then it would have read it just fine. But this is the thing: most people who are picking these up, they're not going to know that.
Loon.
And why would they?
I'm scrolling through desktop mode and my mouse just stops working. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm trying to do everything, figured out, doing the trackpads, trying to see if anything will make it work. And I look up online, like, whoa, what happened? Why does this not work? How to fix it? And it's like, well, just hold the Steam button and then hold the analog stick in the direction you want to move it, and then it starts working. And I'm like, bro, what?
That was
Like,
another thing that they were talking about. The thing, like, yeah, the shortcut system is shit. Like, there's no other word for it. There's a bunch of stuff on there that I still don't understand when they're turning around and saying this, that, and that, and then it's just like, how have you made it in that way and thought that that would be intuitive?
mm,
That's just crazy. But yeah, we're really, really far from it because the whole what people were running with, and I'll put my hands up, it was a big interest and reason for me to get it. But like you just being able to dive into libraries is what that's being pushed as with
hmm
the ROG thing. The Xbox app, about 95% there, I will say. 95% of the way we're there where it's just seamless. Things work perfectly. You would expect it to work that way. Steam, a little bit better. Dude, GOG is fucking nightmare. I don't know if you've had the same thing. I picked up Total Overdose. I mean, have you heard of that game?
mm.
The
Yeah,
like Max Payne thing. Picked it
yeah.
up on sale like a few months ago. This was before the ROG thing, and I was gonna plan on playing it on the laptop. I was like, oh, perfect! I can play it on the ROG. Perfect. Boot it up. Nothing happens. So like the game goes in, it rolls the cutscene. I'm trying to move. Nothing happens. Clicking all the buttons. Nothing happens. And it's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, because you have this like overlay thing where it's like it should override and just know that it should be using these controls. And it was like 40 minutes of tinkering, and I just gave up. And it's just
Mm.
like that's the danger of like if you're paying like as you said, it's like $1,000 in the US. And if they're going in with like the hopes of being able to like, oh, I can finally get like GOG, you have to put in fucking work to get it to work.
Yeah.
And that's the big worry is that it's so early on. I get it. It's gonna have teething issues because only kind of Steam Deck's really been very, very friendly and trying to make everything work and be seamless and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Everything else has
And
kind of
that
been
is awesome.
yep.
The Steam OS, like on the Steam Deck, dude, that shit is fucking so intuitive. It is literally just like running a Nintendo Switch. It's magnificent. So if you're wanting to pick up a device and just play Steam, like if you
Yep.
have no interest in anything else,
No,
dude, this
exactly.
thing is magnificent.
And that's the crazy thing as well with the ROG is that that can be projected to the Xbox app. It's
Hmm
almost near flawless. The only problem I had with it is I tried to play Deathwing, and this is the thing as well. What people I've not seen anyone talk about this, but you have obviously Play Anywhere, which is pulling console games and stuff like that, and you can download and install them. They will work out the back, out the gate, just fine. Like you're not going to have any teething issues whatsoever. But if they were like native PC games, you can run into like the almost similar issues to GOG, but you can get it to run and function and stuff like that. Because I had to remap all the controls and stuff like that, and then on top of that, it didn't run the audio the first time. I had to run it in a windowless setting for the display thing and stuff like that. And it's like I said, this is the problem of if you're trying to push this into a mainstream thing, this is way too much shit. Because this is
Well,
stuff of like I can understand and get my head around it for a lot of the stuff,
same.
and it ends up being just as the experience, it's just frustrating.
Right.
You
It's
you
time
can't
consuming. And
exactly
that's the
you
thing is
can't
like
have
how
that as
many
a product for $1,000. You can't have a product that you because you're the difference with the Steam Deck as well is that that's targeting a PC audience for the
and
most
it's
part.
cheap.
It's cheap. It's targeting a PC audience who already have been tinkering with their systems. And then the people who are from console jumping over, they've made an operating system that just it's very unlikely that they're gonna go and boot up GOG. They will just stay in that Steam Deck ecosystem, and it just works for the most part. It only
Well,
took them until they launched the ROG as well. I want to add that they started showing handheld optimization, because that was kind of what baffled me, is that you have the Steam Deck verified thing, right? That stuff only just started rolling out for the ROG. So this ROG has been able to use Xbox's stuff for all that time, and it hasn't had that functionality whatsoever. And it's only now that when you go to download a game, a screen will pop up and it'll be like, this works flawlessly, and then it will tell you something that doesn't work and stuff like that. So like that's been slightly improved, but yeah, there's still way too much legwork needed from the user, especially with you trying so hard to target console games. Like it's crazy.
well, and I think a big kind of factor in this as well is like once again to the idea of the time consuming aspect
Mm-hmm.
of how like I'm not lying to you, Lynn. I swear to God, it probably took me 4 hours, 3, 4 hours of sitting there and just tinkering with this thing to figure out like how to make it functional in what I needed it to do through desktop and all of that with like trying to understand the emulation and trying to even just turning the fucking thing on at first. Like I was having problems getting it to run. I literally had to go in and like it wouldn't work on my Wi-Fi. I had to swap to like a hotspot Wi-Fi for my phone,
Mm,
set it up there, and then go back in and like reconfigure it to be able to read my actual fiber optic internet, like which is crazy that it's the best internet in
mm.
like my area. How is that not reading? And
Yeah,
then
something to do with the device and stuff. Because I will say that's something that they did work flawlessly when I booted up it connected just fine and stuff like that. That's what I mean. Like these handhelds all have their own pros and cons.
but
Um,
that's the thing though of like when you're trying to if you don't want it to be a mass market thing, then sure. And I guess that's kind of the question that I wanted to throw to you before we dive into the rest of this is
mhm,
like, what is it? You know? Is this thing is the future of handheld gaming? Is it just this niche kind of remaining a nascent sort of but then is it like okay, so I have so many different thoughts on this. The Switch is so mainstream, beyond mainstream. And it seems like the PlayStation handheld is going to directly compete with that and trying to be a mainstream mass market thing that is very closed borders. You're not going to be able to go and emulate games. You are just going to
mm,
play your PlayStation library. You're not going to access Steam. You're not going to access, and that to me is not appealing. But when I look at the Switch and the success that the Switch has had, but to counter that, Mario can only be played on the Switch. Donkey Kong can only be played on the Switch. You're going to be able to play The Last of Us 3 on a PlayStation 6 console and a handheld. So is it like, is the handheld just going to be
that's what I
a
was literally.
niche?
That's what I was gonna say. Like Nintendo don't offer alternatives.
Yeah.
It's that is the system. Um, I didn't know that they were so. I didn't know that they weren't even gonna. It's gonna be a closed border thing. That's
Hmm.
crazy. That's because it's the type of thing of like we've said it time and time again. Like you can't really. They haven't competed with each other. Nintendo's been off doing their thing for a while now. They don't like you can put them side by side as the big three because they are gaming centric and stuff like that, but they don't directly compete really. It's usually in the conversation it's just Xbox and PlayStation just butting heads constantly and Nintendo just off doing their own thing. So to then look to build a device that does directly compete with that, I I don't I don't think that's gonna be very successful in my opinion because it's the type of thing of like you're talking this isn't going to be a device that's going to be $200. It's going to be probably close or more expensive than the console. So why not just buy the console?
Exactly.
Like that
Yeah.
doesn't it doesn't make sense. Whereas with the ROG, absolutely criticize its price point, but it's not just giving you console functionality with the Play Anywhere stuff. Like they I will give them credit as well. What I've seen people dog on, they've been ramping that Play Anywhere. title output up big time, which is what they should have been doing this ages ago. Because this is the type of thing like you knew this was coming. You shouldn't have been sitting on this. Is something that you've been really zoning in on them cloud. You can play your games on the cloud. Here's 50 more, 50 more. You should have been doing that with Play Anywhere as well. Like trying to increase that output a hell of a lot quicker. So kudos to them. But like it gives you much more freedom, which is what has been established as these handhelds now. Nintendo's never going to give you that freedom because they kind of exist in the same like ballpark as like Apple. They sell you a product that they don't want you touching the product beneath the thing. It's you will get it as it is and you will be happy with it and it's going to be simple and it will work. Whereas these other handhelds and stuff like that, Steam Deck, like the whole thing where they were beginning to gain traction and stuff like that is the fact that you can just tinker with them. You can use them if you want as a base thing, like you just run Steam on it, and with the ROG you can just run Xbox on it. And there's going to be people who do just do that, but I really struggle to see like an appeal of a PlayStation handheld in that way,
Well,
especially when the portal exists. Because even if you have kind of wobbly internet, it's you're not doing this outside. They've made it a fairly streamlined process to the point where it works on a lot of people's connections. It's fairly good.
yeah. It's I, so the only thing that I wonder, right, is if we are because these handhelds, the Steam Decks, the ROG Allies, these are beyond niche. Like they're
Oh
extremely,
yeah,
extremely niche.
yep.
And so I guess my thought process on it, and maybe this is how Sony is looking at it, is like, okay, these things aren't taking off at all. The Switch is taking off. Is there something just in the simplicity of you pick it up, it works as advertised, no tinkering, and listen, I agree that I think the main selling point is that you have to buy the Switch to play Mario, and
No, I
that's
was
the
gonna say
reason that
because
they
the thing
sell.
is if they offered, if it was
If they
different,
offered a
if
console
they offered a
variant,
console that because it's not handheld, it would then be more powerful innately. It wouldn't be the same. I would struggle to see people choose the handheld over it, like over the console. It would be a massive, massive flock to get that console because their games would run better. You want your game to run as good as you can. That's why people went out and got the Switch 2 and then the upgrades for the games because they don't want to be stuck on previous gen hardware any longer than they have to be. They don't want to be on weaker stuff. So yeah, it's it's a weird thing because you obviously had the Vita, right? That came out with PlayStation, and it didn't seem to do like exceptionally well. It did pretty good for what it was, but it didn't have like staying power. Like it kind of like blew really quick and a massive flame, and then it kind of died out. Because I remember there being massive back when obviously physical media was being sold in the UK like everywhere, like when the game stops and stuff like that. A lot of Vita games were just cut down to like absurdly low prices because they just couldn't sell the things.
hmm,
Um, but the thing is that when you got a Vita, you had exclusives as well. That's the thing.
yeah,
Like, is if PlayStation is going to do it, are they going to re-greenlight that system of giving you an Uncharted that you can only play on this PlayStation
no,
handheld? And that's the thing is like I don't think they will be doing that. So again, that's a ding against it because that's their whole selling point motto is that when we're selling you hardware, there's exclusive stuff that you can only get on that hardware, like PSVR 2. You can only play certain games on that PSVR 2, right? The
right,
Horizon game
yeah,
that's never been ported to PlayStation, right?
no, it's
And
it's
it
not
and
on
it
MetaQuest
yeah,
or yeah,
and that's the thing of like that's their brand identity, unlike Xbox, which they've just broken down and shredded that up in the way that they have. It would be very difficult to then convince people to buy a handheld that doesn't. It just does the same thing the console does, no different.
So, but it's interesting though because theoretically the next Xbox is going to be that same open borders. Like the console is
Hmm.
going to be very similar to what they're going to offer up with the handheld as well.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting that like it could be the exact same scenario where the PlayStation console is offering up pretty much the exact same experience as the handheld. The Xbox home console is offering up the exact same experience as the
Yep.
Xbox handheld
Which it will.
next generation. And it's like, are you just kind of stepping on your own foot like by offering both? Or is it just like, hey, let's appeal to, if you want to
It
buy an extra thing, then hey, go buy an extra thing, but you know it's going to be niche.
Yeah, it's definitely that thing. It's also just you are catering to if they want. You might just have people who just like handheld gaming. Maybe they only got
Right.
into handheld gaming, and that is it, and you're going to appeal to that. But as long as the understanding that that is going to just, it's not going to be the main selling thing. Because when they
Right.
bring out the Xbox thing, I would be again like, I don't think it's going to sell like hotcakes, but surely the set in stone console, whatever it is going to outsell whatever because they're talking about they're still going to be building a dedicated handheld.
Right.
It's always been the thing of like the set in stone centerpiece is always going to be a thing that sells more. I'd be very shocked if, unless they literally price it to the point where it's like, what the fuck are you like $2,000 and just being completely out of touch on
Right.
some, and then just being like, yeah, you can buy the handheld for 1,000. Then yeah, of course they're going to go to the handheld. But yeah, people
I,
would
I
prefer just the console based thing, I would assume.
I gotta I gotta kind of I swear to God I'll stop and we can get to your questions. I
Oh, these are better.
or hour deep. 2035,
Yep.
10 years from now,
Hmm.
we are looking at we're getting towards the end of the life cycle for PS6, Xbox Hybrid One, and I love that name. I'm just gonna keep calling it and hope that they call it that. So, and we're looking at the end of the life cycle potentially, or maybe even with the handheld, it's an even shorter life cycle. And they're getting these things out in a more iterative, quicker fashion, kind of like phones or who knows. But
Mm.
let's just say there's one handheld, there's one console for both Xbox, PlayStation. What are you expecting sales wise 2035 for the go one by one. I want to hear your kind of
So
sales predictions
be-
for all four.
before I do that, is this still with the caveat that their PlayStation handheld will be closed borders
Right. Yes. I
and
I
the
think without
Xbox
a doubt
stuff
it's
will be
closed
open?
borders. Right.
Okay.
Yes. So just all right, let's paint this whole theory. 2027, let's say they both come out in 2027, everything, all four. And so they've been on the market 2028, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Ooh, that's actually like that would be the actual okay, so yeah, that would be the entire life cycle for the consoles. What are you expecting they sell whenever it's final, the final judgment is read for that generation? What are you expecting the sales figures to be for all four of them?
I don't know direct numbers, so I'm just going to try and base it off of. So when you saw the PS5 come out, there were people that sat on the PS4. I
Mhm.
think when this next PlayStation, you can see a couple trickle over a little bit by a little bit. But I think what we're going to notice, and this is going to completely just really, because it's the type of thing of, there's some people who I don't think still believe this, but a lot of them PS4 players are just multiplayer players. They're people who are just
Yep.
sat on Fortnite because they don't have any reason to upgrade, because it's just a casual thing. You'll see a couple trickle over. I think you'll see maybe 15% PS4 users, and then it will be split between that PS5 and PS6. I think it will be slower selling than we expect for the PlayStation 6. I don't think they're going to be just flying off shelves. Like they'll probably sell out because it's the type of thing of like they under, what's the word, produce everything
Yeah.
nowadays because it's so hard to get their hands on technology in that level of droves, and you have people who have bots set up to buy it and then sell it at a higher rate. Like there's the completely different market way of selling stuff now that we didn't see back then. So I think we'll see a little bit, but are we counting Nintendo or is it just Xbox and PlayStation what you wanted?
Will because Nintendo's so weird that
Yeah.
like they're not gonna have a 7 year,
No, they'll have
8 year
some.
projection
They'll tap in at some
mid.
point in the future.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Hi guys, forgot about us."
So
Um,
like the PlayStation 5 right now is on track with PS4.
yep.
It's trailing a little bit. Like I think that it might be 7 million units behind the
Yep.
PS4 when all is said and done.
I think we'll see a repeat of that. I don't think we'll see a massive drop off. I think it's going to kind of history will repeat itself because it's the type of
Okay.
thing of like, again, what I was hammering at before. We're not seeing systems being pushed to like their breaking point. Like you saw with the PS4, even in its like launch opening thing, like knack. Like as kind of like underappreciated and underloved as that game is, like that game made the PlayStation 4 squeal in pain during its launch. Like it had so many particles and stuff like that because it was the type of thing of. It seems like they've shifted their focus on what you do with console exclusives now. If that makes sense, they used to be put everything you can power wise on display because that's the selling point. Buy our console because it can do all of this. Whereas now they don't really put it up to 11. It's kind of like it feels like they sit at 8 a lot of the time. So I think we'll see a repeat of that.
So you're saying it'll still be over 100 million, but probably not hitting like
Yeah, it will be
PS4
slower.
numbers.
It will be slower
Right.
numbers. It will because you're seeing, especially with the thing of like you're not. I would be very surprised if they fully cut support. Have they said about cutting support for PS4 yet?
No,
And that's what I mean.
obviously they don't release
No,
exclusive like
exactly.
it, but
But it still
Capcom is going to
exists.
release RE9 on fucking PS4.
Exactly. And it's that type of thing of like until you really do deshackle, there's a certain number of people that won't move on,
Right.
and that's just fact. So I think it'll be a little bit slower. I think for Xbox's case, their sales have been so weak. I would be surprised if they're even weaker. It's the type of thing of like people are just going to be morbidly curious. Kind of like with this ROG Ally thing. Like both of us, I didn't think it was going to sell as well as it has. It seems to be doing a lot better than I would have expected. What I was anticipating really is you it launches and then just flooded waves of Twitter posts of just being like, and here's 50 of them sitting on a shelf, and in
Mm.
every single store. But you see that they seem to be selling okay. There's definitely because some people have been trying to run with that story of, but that's the lower model, which I
Who
don't know. It seems a
cares?
little bit disingenuous because if you're going to be buying something that expensive, it's the type of thing of like the product is marketed in that because Apple do this. You end up going to buy something and then you look at if I spend 20, I get that, and then it all adds up, and then you ended up spending $200 more for something that you didn't actually want. So I think
Yeah,
a lot of people who are going to be biting on them are the people who just want the best version of it because you're
I
spending so much
agree.
fucking money to begin.
Yeah, it's so the Xbox One topped out at what, like 60 mil or something like that, 55 mil, 60 mil. It's looking like the Series X is probably going to top out around 40, 45. So a pretty significant dip of 10 million, a dip of about
I
10
think
million or so. Do you think Xbox Hybrid One will hit?
I think it will hit 20 at least over the course of its entire life cycle thing. It's going to be the thing of how well they can execute it though is what that all comes down to. Because that's what I was going to mention earlier. We've kind of bounced around a bit with that ROG Ally thing. It's a proof of concept right now,
Exactly.
and like I said, there's definitely teething issues that they need to address big time. Um, because you can't expect somebody to drop whatever that price is for that console thing and allowing people online to kind of direct the narrative that it's going to be able to play everything. And then if they pick it up and they go to boot up GOG or Steam and it's fucking absolutely confusing to get their hand around, then it's it's going to struggle to sell because people are going to be just very angry with the product that they receive because it's
Yeah.
being marketed as, play the games wherever you want, play whatever
Right.
you want wherever you want. And it's like, well, you also need, that's good to allow that, but you also need to develop a system to allow everybody to achieve that.
So you're thinking it will sell less than the Series X. Are you suspecting that because of the price point? You think it's just going to be priced
I think it's a
to
matter of the price point is one thing, and also what we haven't touched on here, and what we haven't really touched on before either. Dude, Steam numbers have been growing big time.
Hmm.
So many people are sleeping on that of like, because I've even been conservative when we were talking about like Battlefield 6 and stuff like that with the concurrent number. And I know, yeah, you shouldn't read concurrent numbers as a be all end all, but there's so much open with their statistics. It shows you on sites how many monthly active users they have, how many people are playing stuff and stuff like that. PC marketplace is growing quite quickly. Um, and obviously that can contribute in if you're obviously buying a ROG and you log into Steam, you're technically one of them users. So it's tapping
Hmm.
you in and stuff like that. So yeah, it's if they can kind of convince people who have gone out and purchased PCs, maybe they find it a little bit too complex. And then if Xbox, like I said, this is where they have to streamline that process because if they can give somebody a essentially a PC in a box, but just hold your hand, that's what they kind of need to do to deliver with it. There can't be any, I'm going to sit here for 45 minutes tinkering because console players just don't do that. They at the max right now, you boot up a console game and it's I'm going to put on quality or performance. They don't let you
Right.
manually tinker shader settings for a lot of games and this and turning off anti-aliasing and stuff like that. There's not really that back and forth. Some games have, don't get me wrong, which has been interesting, but yeah, if they get that product in their hand, they're not going to know what these words mean, and a lot of people aren't going to Google them, and then they're going to boot the game up. The game's going to run like shit, and then they're going to think that the system is shit, if that makes sense. Because that's what you're seeing with um, some people who reported on the Ally X. Is there was somebody showing like Spider-Man 2 running like shit, and it's like you need to also understand how the device works. Like I get it, they don't tell you this, but this is what happens when that kind of information starts floating out there because it can run just fine. You just need to have it on the settings and plug it in.
Yeah. It's so because I am curious with that their first introduction into the hybrid space of being able to bring a PC to the living room because you're right, like Steam is growing to a level that is kind of obvious and just PC high powered PC um devices are growing to a level where it seems fairly obvious that they're taking users away from Xbox. And that's the thing that I'm curious about because the Switch 2 is selling better than any other Nintendo device ever at this point. The PS5 is selling on par with the PS4. And then Xbox is declining but they are introducing a new piece of hardware that could appeal to the people who left them
Mm,
to pick up a PC. So it's like I almost wonder if of course, once again, price is everything, and that's a question you had down here, the price point for the consoles, and we can predict that. Um, but it's like if they can launch this at $700, maybe even $800, and actually be competitive, then maybe we do see a world where Xbox Hybrid One sells 60, 70 million. Uh, Once again, I'm not predicting that. Like, if I had to throw my money, it would be similar to yours. Like, if I had to put my sales predictions to the task here, I would say something like the hybrid one sells 15, 20 million. PS6 sells 100 plus million, and then
Yeah.
whatever the Switch does what it does. But like, if the price is appropriate and reasonable, I do think that that is very like I would be interested in picking it up. And I don't pick up anything unless you have exclusive software because it's like that I don't give a shit about tinkering and all that, but like to know that I can just emulate all my games and have a home console experience where I can emulate anything, play Steam, play GOG, play I mean, dude, that's appealing for $700, but it's not appealing for 1,000, you know.
Yeah, it for me, I think that would be my tap out limit. Would be the 1,000 personally, but that's obviously because I'm much more closer to the brand, as it were. I wouldn't go north of that day one. Um, but this is the thing. What makes me laugh a little bit. This isn't a shot at you because I don't think you even did this. But you had tons of people who paid $1,000 for PS5s from scalpers. Like you had
Oh, yeah,
tons
fucking
of people.
idiots.
Yeah, no, exactly. So this is why it always makes me laugh when you see people saying that nobody will pay that because it's like people paid that for the generation that we're in just now. It's
But
like
when I say nobody, I mean like
no, no, no.
hundreds of
Yeah,
millions.
no, I know, I know, and I'm fully aware of that. But it's like, yeah, there will be people that will pay that, pay even more than that, and but there's if you're wanting to make a splash, which they should be, being the fucking size that they are, you don't want to be third place again and again and again, which they ain't
Well,
even
who
third
cares
place.
about
But that
you?
you can say who cares, but that's for them being in that position translates directly to how many you've sold. It's not just about being in that place like oh we're lost again. It's like you are being outsold by everything. So therefore
But if
your revenue stream for your centered platform is going to be the lowest of everywhere where you're selling it. That I can
but
get gone.
it's the thing where like technically they were last with the 360, but they fucking sold a lot of those things and made a ton of money
Yeah,
from, purchases on the storefront. So it's like just be competitive.
yeah,
That's kind of the thing I want from them is like strive to actually make an impact in this space.
yeah. Which they have done, but it's the thing of as well. Once people have made up their minds, it's so hard to win them back as well. On top of that, they're definitely trying to do stuff to make it appealing, but it's all down to it's the balance of price and execution. Because even if they priced it accordingly at $700, if it's completely obtuse to the general consumer, they'll just return it.
Hmm.
Because what did you do with your Windows laptop earlier this year? It just didn't make sense and it didn't work. And it's like, I don't want to be fucking around with this. I just want it to work out the gate.
That was just because of my microphone, though. Like, I actually did really like that damn laptop a lot. For whatever reason, it just wouldn't configure with my
No, but people have
microphone.
been, people have done that with the ROG Ally things. There's, you can buy, uh, what do you call it? Returned inbox stuff already
Hmm.
for them. And it's because they get hit with a problem and because they've been told by influencers or stuff like this or read articles and stuff that you can do this, do that. You can do that, but you need to put in the effort. And this is what I'm hoping, because I think I said this before as well. I'm hoping that's what this handheld is going to be. Do treat it like a beta. Do treat it like a teething, get all that shit out of the system, listen to the feedback, so that when you do launch whatever that thing is, there's none of that. You don't want to have
Hmm.
any complaint upon unboxing that coming out of the box for $700 plus as a standard console. Because that's gamers are fickle, man. People sat there and bitched and complained about having to manually put on a stand for a PlayStation. They're not going to be
Yeah.
forgiving over their games not running. That's even
Hmm.
worse.
Yeah. I agree. So what are you thinking that like price point wise?
I think I align with you if you're going to be trying to make a clawback 700, but it's how much has have they conceded in that? quote
Mm.
unquote boardroom and stuff. How much influence does Microsoft have over everything now that they've been given the profit sheets and stuff like that? Like, are they just going to be like, well, we'll happily just sell 20 million as long as it means that we either break even or we make a profit from each of these units sold? Why the hell should we make a loss? You know,
Yeah.
they just want, anytime they see red, they don't like that. That's why you saw the Game Pass price hike. Anytime,
Hmm.
like if they see a flat line as well, that's negative to them. They don't want, it's it's growth. It's the G word. It's what they want. Investors aren't happy if things stand still. So even if they can turn around and go, we made then a bit extra money this quarter, it's just gritting your teeth and bearing it. And that's the scary thing as well.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that they are actually, because what they're doing is so innovative and could, because if they can get to market before Valve does with the Steam Machine 2
Mm.
or whatever they're about to launch into the living room, like that would be such a breakthrough, innovative new piece of technology that I think people would be willing to pay a little bit of a premium. But I mean, there's limits to that. One of the funniest things about PC gaming is that you'll see people say it's growing and it's bigger than consoles, and it is, but that's because my MacBook can play PC games. My MacBook
Yeah,
Air, that is like, it can play Repo, it can play
it's
Schedule One, like it can play these very low fidelity indie games that are huge on Steam. But like when you talk about PCs that are as powerful as a PS5 or a Series X, no, man. You might have an equal amount, but it's not like
no, they don't.
it's
They don't juggernaut over them. It's the same thing of like that number can be skewed for everything. With like PlayStation saying we have this many million users, and that to somebody who doesn't look in, they're going to be like, oh, that's all PS5. No, there's a good chunk of PS4 and stuff like that. That's the same with the Steam stuff. Because I think
But see, the thing is though, is like you can look directly at how many PS5s have been sold. There's no way for us to know anything about how many, we don't know how many specific high-powered PCs are out there versus how many
no,
potatoes. Like we can find
because you
little in it, but we
manually,
have to extract from so
yep,
many different areas.
it's because you have to manually build your components a lot of the time. Um, and some people opt in, but again, it's the thing of like, it's same with like concurrent players. You can't look at those who opt in to allow their parts to be scanned to then be counted because again, they're probably enthusiasts. So that can skew data. But yeah, there's there's so many people that pick up a PC and they're still running off something that's like 10 years old.
Oh yeah.
They pissed off people by turning around. I think they're dropping Windows 10 support this month,
Yep, they
which
are.
will fuck over a bunch of systems because the laptop I had before where we'd hop on to Zoom. The reason a big proponent was for me to get the new laptop is because they sent that message last year saying that they will be cutting support. Your laptop's not, it can't run Windows 11. So that's going to phase people out and force them to buy better gear or not use PCs if they're using them for gaming things and then pick up a console. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, I'm thinking 900 for the hybrid one, the Xbox hybrid one. I'm thinking probably 600 for the PS6. And then I'm thinking the handheld prices are probably just going to be equal to what the console prices are, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Mm. Yeah, it depends. Like I've noticed with the handheld market as well, of being a little bit more looking into it a bit more. They're just expensive, man. Like Valve's the only one that really kept it, and I'm talking for PC handhelds, because the Switch is whatever it is, 500, 450, 500. Um, those PC handhelds are just fucking expensive across the board, really, for what they are. Like they're really, really steep. So I would be surprised. I could probably see maybe then giving it a little bit more thought, maybe 800 for the console and then 1,000 for the handheld. Just repeating that. But
Yeah. Uh,
yeah, it's just it's the thing of this is so fresh and raw for us. It
mhm.
hurts to be talking and trying to like work our heads around that. But you gotta remember in like tech space, like I said, it doesn't sit still. Somebody will fall on the sword so that someone else can carry that torch. You had stuff like if if that kind of rejection was universal in price, you wouldn't see things repeat itself. Like an example, like Evolve was heavily rejected when that first launched because it was a game that launched with shitloads of DLC, very monetizable. No, we as gamers won't stand for this. That died. But what came up from its corpse? 50 imitators that succeeded. Like it's crazy. So because this is so fresh and raw for console gamers, because we're so used to seeing the price point be like 500, is the standard now being risen just like it has been for games? Game prices rising and stuff like that. If game prices are rising, hardware will inevitably rise.
Yeah. I think, I mean, there's no doubt that it's going to go up. I'm just like, I'm wondering what the go up means. You know what I mean? Because obviously it's not the $1,000 thing. Anybody that's suspecting that, like, I'll mark it down right now. I guarantee you that you'll be pleasantly surprised that when the next generation rolls around, you're not going to be paying $1,000 for a PlayStation 6 or anything even
Oh,
close to
not for a
that.
PlayStation 6, definitely no.
But it's is it going to be more than 500? Probably.
Yep.
Like, and that's why I do think probably 600, something like that. I know Moore's Law is Dead is talking about like 550 for the base
They
console.
they have the benefit as well, right? Because it will probably mimic what the Pro's doing. They can come in and say 600 for a digital only console, extra 50 for the disk drive, an extra 20 for the stand, and then it goes up to being 7, 800 in that way.
Mhm.
And they know that you're going to have those enthusiasts that will pay that extra for that disk drive because they want that physical media
Yeah.
as a thing. Um,
Hey, can we pause 1 second, man?
yep.
All right.
All right, and we're back.
Yeah. So I think kind of continuing off that, a big reason as well why I don't think we're going to see these crazy expensive consoles, or at least for that that's the tough thing about predicting Xbox, because if it is like you said, Microsoft going in and being like, we're only going to sell 20, 30 million of these things, we're not taking any loss whatsoever. Like for Nintendo and PlayStation, they know that they're not going to sell 100 million Switch 3s or PS6s if they price it at $1,000. And then it's like, oh we make all of our money from PlayStation and Nintendo, like from, digital purchases on the storefront and from getting that 30% rip. And like we have to sell our software to tens of millions of people. We can't launch into an ecosystem of 20 million. So I think that it's like it's not that they're your friend.
Mm,
It's that they need you,
yep.
and they know the only way to get you is to make sure that you can afford it. And even they're going to make it to where you grit your teeth and you're going to be like, I fucking don't want to pay this. They're going to get to whatever that threshold is. But no, they're not going to go above it
Yeah, because
if they want to be a mainstream device.
they've all flirted in this manner at some point in the history. Like what the PS3 originally released, and it was
Yes.
very, very tough to swallow.
$600 in 2006.
Exactly. So like they've all done these brash headed moves. But yeah, I don't think PlayStation would. I would be absolutely shocked if a digital only PlayStation 6 cost more than $600. Because, like I said, they have the benefit as well of just selling you that extra shit to bring up that price. Because they want you to pick it up, they want you to buy games with it and stuff like that. Because you had when you price it so high as well, you're not going to be selling all that many games around that period. You had people picking up the Switch 2 and people posting it online and being like, I could only get one game and stuff like because
Mm.
it's expensive, man. It's really fucking expensive. So yeah, I think for that, yeah, 600, and then for Xbox, they really should look at doing it for about 800, because
Hmm.
it's the type of thing they can argue as well with it not being closed borders. This is the thing,
Totally.
and they need to, like I said, get that streamlined and puff their chest, because right now their marketing campaign of this is an Xbox is it's not doing anything. A lot of
Well,
people are laughing at it because you can genuinely make the argument that if you're picking up the ROG, you can't play a big chunk of your Xbox games.
right.
So, and it's the type of thing of like, it is, again, when you want to make an argument, you are skewing it because you can play a lot of them because you can play them through streaming,
Remote play.
but you
Yeah.
don't want to play them through streaming and remote play. You want to play them downloaded, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Because I was actually going to pull in the footage, but I don't think I'll be able to get it up quick enough. I tried Avowed through because I was checking to see if it see if my save got fixed. I'm still hoping, but no, that's just I end up just deleting it. I was like, no, I'm deleting my save, and I will just start fresh whenever I pick it back up because they're not gonna fucking fix this thing. It's just not. It's what has happened has happened. It sucks, but it's
Right.
the type of thing of like Quantum Break also had a save glitch for me, and I had to just start from the beginning. I'll just
Jesus.
play it from the start. It is what it is, but downloaded it on the Series X to check, and then I was like, I wonder how well it plays on like the ROG. Download it with the ROG and stuff, and you have to kind of tinker with it and stuff like that. And it's like, this isn't like really good performance. It's like passable. And I ended up playing the remote play thing, or cloud, sorry, cloud gaming. There's so many. This is the thing as well. They have so many fucking different. I'm in their ecosystem and I trip up on their stupid fucking jargon terminology. I played it through cloud gaming, um, and it's actually I'll give them a little bit of a tip of the hat. Whatever they turned around and said they upgraded behind the scenes has worked. It's much more stable, but it wasn't enjoyable. This is the thing. It's never gonna. I don't think it's ever gonna be that. Like you can tolerate it, but when I was playing it, it felt like still because when I was said it before, it felt like someone was dragging your shoulder back. It just feels like you're running through sand, like a little bit of sand on your feet. Like there's just heaviness,
Right.
which there will always
Yes.
be, even though it's saying 0% packet loss. Zero, there's still just delay because it's
Yep.
having to transfer that data and then give it back. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I played it for about 40 minutes. It's playable. You can play it. You can enjoy the game to a degree, but it's not the best experience, and that's not what you should be building your identity as because that is not it.
Well, I do think you can make an argument though, like if you are trying to build your identity for the next the hybrid one of like this is the most powerful, like this is on par with your most powerful PCs on the market,
Mm.
but it's $800 cheaper than them.
Yep.
Like that is really fucking appealing. And yes, you would be subsidizing, you would be taking a loss, but you're gonna do that anyway. Like if you want to make a they did that for the Series X. They took a
Mm-hmm.
loss on it for a while, and then the PlayStation did that with the PS5, took a loss on it for a while. Like that's what you do, you
Do
know?
we
So
do we know if them new price hikes are they now breaking even or making profit?
I think they've both already broken. I think they're both breaking even by the end of the first year, if I'm not mistaken, the Series X and the
Mm.
PS5. I think by 2021 they had already broken even. So I think everything now is profit. But now you have the tariffs in the equation. So like I don't necessarily know. I can't
Mm.
sit here and factor that in off the top of my head, but I would imagine they're both making profit on both devices at this point.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean that'd be the way to go. And the other side of the equation is obviously we've talked about hardware pricing, game pricing.
Right.
That's been a teething issue this generation more than any other generation before. And I know some people have posted as well. You see magazines of I think like old Nintendo games and they're being like very heavily priced, like 80 in some places and stuff like that. And it's like they were outliers as well. Do keep that in mind. Um, you're talking universal pricing, which is what they're trying to push in, that every AAA game should be hitting the $80 market, is what they wanted this year. They were so ready to pull that trigger and got a lot of pushback. So in
Well,
that 10 years from now, do you think that they have that mission accomplished? Do you think they'll be at
yeah,
the 80, 90, 100?
it'll be 80. I think in 10 years it'll be 80. I don't think it'll be 90. I don't think it'll be 100, but I do think it'll be 80. And
Mm.
I think that that's fair. 10 years, $10. Sure. That's what inflation is. What inflation is not is, oh hey, we raised it to $70 in 2020 with NBA 2K21, and 3 years later, now we're going to raise it to $80. Like that's that $10. I don't care if that inflation actually took place in terms of
Mm-hmm.
base consumer goods by and large. Sure, it did. But you are not a base consumer, like you are a entertainment product. You better understand how expendable, how disposable you are. And I that might sound harsh, but like
No, that's
you can
truth.
live without entertainment. You can't live without fucking groceries.
No, exactly. And I think that's what they got that realization with that Game Pass price hike. They crashed their site, for fuck's sake.
Right.
Which I also want to give their site is terrible. They could have probably had 10 cancellations and it probably would have still fucking crashed it. The amount of times I've tried to get into payment and billing to see about a pre-order or see where, like, oh, where'd my gift card go that you said you gave me and stuff like that, and it fucking just sits there spinning, spinning, spinning. So, but the worry is as well, because like you said, that does make sense, like, to a degree of like $10 every 10 years, but where's the ceiling
Right.
for that?
There isn't one, and there shouldn't be one.
And
You know what I mean? Like you definitely, for the longest time we were locked in at 49.99, and the ceiling should be whenever wages stagnate, and they that wages are stagnating. So maybe that is the thing of like people just aren't making more, so they can't afford to spend more on your product, and you're going to have to keep your costs down. It's going to have to be something on
mm,
your end, and that's the thing. They have to figure that out. Number one is like, this is a you problem only, because we can live without your product. Our backlogs are stacked to the ceiling. Steam is dropping games for $1 every day. Like, we don't need your thing. And so, but I do think in a perfect world, right? We're all making more and more, more and more and more and more money
yeah,
every 10 years. And then, so yeah, we can pay a little bit more. But whenever we
but
can't, that's
that's
when
not
your
been the
prices
case
stop.
for a very, very long time. Prices haven't. This is wages, obviously, that we're referencing here. They've not moved,
Mm,
and that's why I say, like, 10 years, $10 from now, so 2035. That is unsustainable to keep, if especially if them wages aren't moving. You can't keep
right.
asking 10. Like, that's what I was getting at of, and that's where it brings back to, you guys need to. It's not price isn't going to fix your problem. Bumping it up every bit, because you're just going to price out other people. Which, if you price out one person who would have bought the 60, you're missing out on that, and you're only gaining 10, if that makes sense. You've lost the consumer that would have paid the majority of that price to just gain somebody who's happy to pay an extra 10. Like,
Mhm.
it's crazy. They
Well,
need to find ways of budgeting better, big time. And I think maybe that's why they're so fucking locked in on the AI thing. That's what they think is going to be their saving grace, which I don't think. Again, it's the type of thing of, like, you have teething issues that you're not taking into consideration. If you're going to be rolling this out across the board, like, don't get me wrong, like, AI has come leaps and bounds in 10 years, but you're not going to be replacing three-quarters of a development team,
no.
because it it will make so many critical mistakes to the point where it's just gonna it will print out a product. You have to get people to come in, basically proofread the entire product, and then make changes. At that point, you're just fucking developing the game. You may as well just develop the game. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
the type of
It's
thing of, like, what you should be doing is utilizing it for stuff that, because what I was thinking when I was going through that ROG thing of the teething issues is, like, develop like an AI program kind of thing where it can just, it knows this is what a controller is. These are all the inputs of a controller. You then click on the game, say through GOG. These are the inputs on a keyboard and mouse. That's what that
Automatically
would
maps it.
translate, and it just does it seamlessly. That's what you
Yeah.
should be using AI for. That kind of task where, yeah, you can tinker and do that manually, but it should just be that. It shouldn't be taking over creative control. Because there was that very, you would have definitely seen it, the Halo guy that walked out. His
Yep.
statement is kind of chilling.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, you can probably. There's some people that are like, he's just bitter that something happened, whatever, blah blah blah. And it's like, to say the things he said doesn't inspire confidence. What that tells me is that probably a lot of the art is going to be shit in that next Halo
Yep.
game, which is unfortunate because Halo was always known for very, very strong art direction. And that's kind of sad. So you're going to basically axe the art division, is what that sounds like. And what they're beginning to notice with ChatGPT, it can just print out fucking blocks of words. Is that going to be writing
Yeah.
your story now as well? I hope not.
Right.
And it's just, yeah, you just start piecing things together, and it's just like, ooh.
Well, and it's to me, I think that whenever you see a company invest $80 billion and mandate generative AI to be used in development of games, and it's like, well, of course it's going to be used in the development of games. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like this is not a theory. Every single Microsoft studio is going to be using generative AI in the development of their games. And it's just hoping to God
They use
that
it
it's
right.
not. Yeah, because you
Yep.
can use it right,
Yep.
definitely. And I mean, in terms of bug fixing and shit like that, dude, I would be all over that if I was the lead, creative director or the head of a studio or, whatever the case may be. Matt Booty, I would be mandating, like, yes, you're going to use AI to go in there and fucking try to identify every bug in this game. And then we're going to hire a QA team to go in after that to track down those bugs, make sure
See,
that,
that's the big worry, isn't it? It's the follow up of all of these things. Is the whether or not they would actually do that.
right, you got to still have the QA team,
Mm,
but like, hopefully what it would be is like, you know, I hate to be rude, but it would be instead of 100 QA members, 20. And so you're cutting significant costs there instead of having five different, programmers for this one thing, you have two. And that's unfortunate. But it's the same thing with any sort of innovation that's happened
yep.
in the history of ever of go down the line, right? And people lost jobs because of it. The only problem with AI is it seems like it's going to be such a substantial loss of jobs that we need to figure out, like,
Where
not
do
to
they
get
go?
too political, but like we need to figure out, is this the point of urgency where we got to start thinking about universal basic income? Is this the point where we got to start thinking about like how to keep these people employed in, is it, are AI technicians? Like what is the job that's, where are they going to go when they're replaced by AI? What is going to be the new job that's created because of AI?
I don't
That's
think
the
they
thing we got to
care.
figure out.
Is the scary part because you saw during the 360 generation, you could phone up Microsoft, right? You had a problem, you'd phone into their support, you'd get given a human being, and then they would try and just figure shit out. Like I think in my time, I've probably rung in like 4 times and was always given like a human. And then in the past like 10, 8 to 10 years, that's not. They
Right.
started to like pull the jobs of official Microsoft, and then people who were from the community started filling them roles. Community
Hmm.
ambassadors were given the task of fixing your troubleshooting problems, which is fucking crazy. You're basically relying on charity for people to do that out of goodwill. And now they're even going with like whenever you ring up customer support for most big companies now, it's just you're hit with a robot.
Hmm.
Did you can just go to the website and it will fix your problem. Go to this. And it's so hard to just talk to a human being. And it's so frustrating. And like that's what my worry is that not only is it going to cost jobs, it's going to make it worse to just traverse anything and
Oh,
do
everything's
anything.
going to be worse. Like
Yeah.
if any game that's like, say, I don't know. if you're replacing 40% of people and trying to implement AI to take that 40% of workload away, like that's going to be a maybe not a 40% worse product, but a 20% worse product at the end of the day. Like AI right now, as it's currently constructed, fucking sucks.
Mm.
The You see it in all those videos, they're looking better, no doubt. And it's
Yeah,
hard to distinguish at times, no doubt. But whenever you start putting them in motion and going from one frame to the next, and there's any sort of continuation beyond just that one kind of still shot, it looks like dog shit. It looks like absolute fucking dog shit. And that's why you see in all the AI videos, they're in one room. They never go beyond that one room. There's never any forward progression, any forward momentum, motion. It's all so confined into one space because it has no idea what to do beyond that.
yeah, it is also very, very demanding to come
Mhm.
out of that space. Um, and that's why I was talking about like the writing process as well, potentially being utilized because we've seen it. I think we spoke about it before with the video essay channels now that are just entirely AI that
Yeah.
you can listen to for like a minute or two and be tricked into being like, okay, yeah, because you as a human, even English, people pronounce words sometimes wrong and off. So you give the benefit of the doubt here and there, and then when that veil begins to slip 5 minutes in, it's like, holy shit. And that's kind of scary of thinking of like, okay, well, if they can do that, does that mean that they could convince people into, because you think of like voicing an NPC in a game, just side characters that would cost people jobs and stuff like that, and just yeah, it's just never ending.
Yeah. I think the thing I'm wondering the most about is like because you brought it up earlier talking about the $100+ games that
Mm-hmm.
used to be sold for the, Nintendo 64, NES, Super SNES, whatever. And it's like you got to keep in mind they were competing with Blockbuster. That was their big thing of like the rental stores and shit. They were pricing those games so significantly because they were having to understand that Blockbuster was going to buy them and
Mm.
then rent them out and like so they were selling these hundreds of thousands of copies, millions of copies to Blockbusters around the world. So they're going to upcharge Blockbuster. They weren't really trying to upcharge us. And when I start thinking about AI and I start thinking about development costs that are going to be, you get what I'm saying? It's like if the games are going to be that much cheaper to make because of AI,
They won't drop the
surely,
price though. No, no,
exactly, surely
that's
you're
the
going to make
thing
the
though,
games cheaper,
because
right?
you don't even need to use that as a guessing point because they did it with Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign at all. It didn't have a single player campaign, and it didn't budge at all on that pricing. Because what they could have done is gained goodwill, chopped off $10 off the price because it's like we didn't give you a single player. They didn't. They
Hmm.
happily charged the full price, the extra, the super extra edition at the same prices as they always do. And it's just like, yeah, that's just not. They don't think like that because, like I said, it's you
Right.
push it to the limit. Um, and also, what I wanted to touch on with the NES stuff, whatever was on carts as well. People need to
Hmm.
keep in mind that was more expensive to make than DVDs,
Discs.
CDs, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's why they also kind of struggled towards the tail end when the PlayStation 1 came out and they were competing and stuff like that when stuff was not universal. When they found that CDs and DVDs were so easy to fucking print and stuff like that, it cut
Exactly.
costs considerably.
Yeah. And
Um,
much better with storage and
because
all
we
the, yeah.
because we've had that as well with the thing of like the whole argument that people I remember beginning when digital was starting to take off is like, oh well, hopefully this will mean that you pay more for the physical, you pay less for the digital, because the digital doesn't cost any money to distribute. It's just a code license being projected to you, and it hasn't.
Right.
It's not done that at all. If anything, I've pointed this out time and time again because digital sold outselling physical. Over here, you get physical copies cheaper than digital. Time and time
Hmm.
again in Amazon. Like the amount of times I've like with Metal Gear Delta, that was a £10 saving getting it through that. Assassin's Creed Shadows was 15, and it's because
Right.
they're not. That's not the place. that's selling the most amount of copies. It's wherever's selling the most is where they will happily stick that price and milk you for. And
So,
console pricing of games is outrageous. Have you scrolled through Steam to look at like how deep sales go?
oh my God, it's unbelievable. Even games that came out like a week ago, or
Mm-hmm.
it's wild how much cheaper they are than console games. I mean, even like games that literally launch the same day will be $40 on Steam and
Yep.
55 or whatever. Like it can be significant sometimes. But to that point of the physical and digital split, like, are you thinking, okay, for one, I want to know your perspective as an Xbox player. Going into next generation, are you expecting a detachable disk drive
Yep.
option for Xbox?
Yep. I
Okay.
think they'll offer it, but it'll be the thing of because this is the thing of like usually it's Xbox that do bold things, and then others follow suit. PlayStation kind of ripped that band-aid off by launching
Right.
their Pro. It's the Pro, right? That doesn't have the disc drive. You pay to have the
Yeah.
disc drive.
Hmm.
I think they'll just follow suit with that because it just makes sense as well. Like, just charge money for it. It is as harsh as it sounds. It is the niche, especially like you're talking about Xbox, not Xbox, PlayStation players comparing the physical to digital. Like Xbox is probably dire. You're probably talking like 95% plus
Yeah.
of Xbox owners buy digital games if they even buy games at all because you've hammered that in their fucking head to not buy stuff.
Right.
Um, it's a little bit blown out of proportion, that sentiment. There's definitely still people that buy it, but I was talking to a friend. Battlefield 6 I ended up picking up, and talking to the people that I was playing with because it's the type of thing like, yeah, I don't really like asking the questions, but it was just like out of curiosity. It's like, you don't really buy anything, do you? And that wasn't like as a judgmental thing. It's because I was like, I saw an article of like saying that a lot of majority of people just buy like 1, 2 games a year. So I
Yeah.
was like, what's the last game that you bought? Last game that one of the friends bought was Alan Wake 2 at launch. The other one
Goodbye.
hasn't purchased the game since 2020. Like you're talking, you've been on the system, so you're on the Xbox ecosystem. So 5 years, and you've not given them, other than the Game Pass subscription, no money.
I,
And it's
but Loon, like,
like they've made that, they have created that like ingrained in people because they don't need to buy anything because you put so many games on a system. He doesn't even finish stuff
yeah.
still. He has 4, 5, 600 games on that thing, and he's still just, he'll just go back to, I'll just play Dead by Daylight, or I'll just play this, and I'll just, and it's just like, man, no wonder they want to
It's,
also price the games up because
of
people
course.
aren't buying them.
Well, and that's why they wanted to jump the Game Pass price to $30 a month as well.
Yeah,
Is
because it's
like,
their core consumer.
yeah, well, and well, I think another part of it is to make it not their core consumer. You know what I mean? To be like, to make people
I
reconsider going back and buying games again.
because I did ask them that there's no, he has no interest in buying titles because his point that he made was, dude, it's fucking like he'll happily like get that bill each month because it just means he always has access to games. There's no interest in buying physical games or digital games. Life is tough to make a living as is. The thought of dropping 70 on anything is just inconceivable.
But see, that's the thing is that life is tough. And then the idea of dropping $30 on a subscription service for a lot of people is not going to fucking happen for,
If
you
they're
know, if
dipping
they,
into both, though, that's the thing. If you're solely just that is it, that's 30 a month, that's fine. That's
I
all
don't
the
think so,
only way
man.
that I consume because that's the way he was looking at it, and he was like, "There's no way I'd buy anything."
I think what they're going to realize is there's just not enough time in the day for it to work. Is that like because that's the idea of a subscription service is that you keep the prices low, people forget about it, and it's for the people who don't, either don't have the money to go out and buy the things they want to buy full price. And but here's the thing is if you are working your ass off 60 hours a week, whatever, you don't have time to really make use of that subscription service. It's a really tough business model to figure out in gaming. And I think that's why nobody has.
Mm.
I think it might just simply be impossible. I think the only way I think it would have worked is if they started changing the way that games were made and made like 4 hour, 3 hour, like crazy high quality experiences, but something you could get through in a night and have hundreds of them a year. It's, but I don't think that that's how the majority of people want to play games.
No, you see
It's tough,
Keeper.
man.
You see Keeper being a perfect example of like that's very, very short. People seem to be very happy that they played it, but have no interest in touching it. Because it's been
Yeah.
ingrained in their head that for a lot of casual consumers that if it's short it's bad. Which still
Yeah.
hurts my soul.
Mine too, man. Mine too.
So that perfectly links into the next question. Will games get longer across the board or shorter?
I
Do you
mean, it's
think?
impossible to get longer, right? At this point. So I hope shorter. How
See
can it
that
get any fucking longer?
see the thing is that they can get longer if they pivot to live service because it's
Right.
infinite play. That was the kind of because I understand that like you don't want single player games getting longer, but you're talking like
God.
Remedy even dipped their toe into getting that live service game and it blows up in their face in the way that it
Right.
did. Um, and it's just that chase for just the cash cow, and they just want people to just live in that. And it was kind of I saw I don't know if you're familiar with Shroud, the ex CS:GO player, turned
Don't
into
think
like a
so.
gaming streamer thing, and it's kind of weird. I don't know if this was 100. I don't know if this was satirical at all because it was just a short clip, but I'm sure some people do feel this way. He's like before he dies, he just wants one game to just be like an MMO that you just play till you die. And
Oh,
it's just like
God.
I can't even begin like even if that's even slightly true, like that just kills my soul. But there's
That
people
sounds
that would happily
miserable.
but that and what kind of like gave me a step back is like that kind of exists already to a degree because you have the people that tap into Call of Duty yearly. They're going to
Right.
new entries, but that is all they experience. So they've
Right.
kind of already accomplished that, which is kind of scary. You know, getting people to just accept that as a rotational yearly thing. Um, but yeah, I would hope that we see shorter experiences. We still haven't really seen that begin to take shape. Did you finish Ghost of Thingy?
Yeah.
How long did it take
I
roughly?
think 50 hours, something like that. Um, and but you can probably finish it in like 18 or so for the main story, which that's fine with me. I love a good 15 20. Um, and then I put another 30 hours into it. Just I fucking love that damn game.
Hmm.
But I think we need to get back to Mass Effect, that trilogy, that length of game. I don't look at those games as short at all. But then you go back to them and play them, and it's like, oh my God, I'm done in a couple days. It's like, well, how
I
the
think
fuck?
on
I
average,
don't.
yeah, they're about 20 hours on average, unless you're literally peeling back every facet of the game.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's just strange how we went from that where it was other than Mass Effect one with the with the Mako and stuff like that. There was a little bit of pacing issues if you went into that, but like everything else was very well paced. It didn't feel like it was dragging out its runtime. It didn't feel like it was slowing down, and it also at the same time as well to the opposite end of that, it didn't feel like it was rushing.
right.
Everything felt perfectly paced because there was no real filler. In the same way, like I like Andromeda for what it is. I have a warm spot for it in my heart with it still being in the Mass Effect thing. But like, the game has terrible pacing because it's trying to balance a fully open world system, which shouldn't be in a Mass Effect game, in my opinion. It just doesn't. It just gets in the way because the
Hmm.
whole premise of Mass Effect as to what made it special is that it pulled out a JRPG mechanic of party members and just made that the main focal point for the game. You can't really do that when it's an open world thing, but when it's tight, you're in elevators, you're doing constant dialogue. Like the amount of dialogue in them free Mass Effect games compared to Andromeda. Andromeda focuses heavily mostly on combat, is what it's pushing into your face. We want you to engage in the vehicle combat. Go here and fight this super boss. Go here and like we've cleaned up the gun gameplay and stuff like that. And that artificially lengthens the runtime even more. Whereas with Mass Effect 2 and 3, like there's gunplay. It's not the best gunplay. It's heavily cover based and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you could probably make improvements, but the main thing where the game shone is the writing. You cared about the writing, you cared about the characters. I can remember PB. That's it from Andromeda. I can't think of any of the other names of
Yeah,
the cast
damn.
members. Short haired woman,
That is crazy because I played that recently and
the
I
black
can't
guy,
remember.
the blue
Um,
alien,
but yeah,
Jahil, maybe.
you go through Mass Effect 2 and
No,
it's like
exactly. And you can rattle off
fucking
every
Jack.
single. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go through all the whole Miranda, Jacob, Thane. Like it's fucking crazy that is. And sure, I've played Mass Effect 2 more than I have Andromeda, so but it's that's not why. That's not
No,
the only reason why. It's because they are very memorable for sure.
because the focus point was the dialogue. You spent time with them. You did their introductory quests where they were
Yeah.
very, very. When you do an introductory quest for Jack, your other characters would take a step back. They would be with
Man.
you, but they very little back and forth because it's to put the focus on that particular character. Then they would join the squad. They would then banter between themselves. They would also have very different personalities bouncing off of each other, you know? And the greatness of it as well, on top of that, was that the Paragon Renegade system suited that perfectly dynamic because it was about balancing personalities,
Hmm.
especially in Mass Effect. I think 2, you had a lot of like moral dilemma decisions with Jack and stuff like that leading up to that final
Right.
mission. Because if you truly picked favorites, it backfired. Like you had to understand it's a team game. You all have your
Yeah.
strengths and weaknesses, and it's about balancing that. Whereas in Andromeda, there's not really that kind of back and forth between the
No.
characters. They just kind of are there.
Yeah, I do wonder, like when we get to this next generation of hardware, consoles, whatever, PC, I wonder, is it going to be a scenario where because it's always the pendulum swings too far one way, back the other too
Mm.
far, and never finds like a good balance. But I I feel like at some point rubber has to meet the road. And you look at something like Yote or Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and these games were perfectly budgeted. You know, Yote was, I think, $60 million, something like that, which is incredible restraint shown on Sucker Punch's part to keep that budget so reasonable. They're going to make that back in no time.
Yeah.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 with Warhorse, they are going to make that money back. They've already made that money
I was gonna
back.
say I would be shocked if they didn't already were turning a profit. It's
Yeah.
so
And so
lean.
right. And it's huge too. It feels
It doesn't
massive,
feel like
man. That
quality has been compromised.
right. And so that's the thing that I'm looking at where I look at Yote, I look at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I almost I kind of don't like that. I think that's probably going to be the model where you look at those two games and they're fucking massive, massive games that take up a lot of time, but they've been created on a reasonable budget. And so it's like, is that the new next step where we just get big games, but they're more iterative and not maybe necessarily as risky, but they're still 50 hours. So that's what people want. We're still going to give you 50 hours.
See, I think 50 hours is probably the best tap out point as to what they should do. Like when you go above that, because that's the thing of where you was talking about being able to mainline Yote. in 18, roughly, probably
Hmm.
20 to 18. And then you're
Yep.
also getting it up to 50. The big difference is that as much as I like Shadows for what it is, it's the opposite of that. To get to the
Right.
mainline quote unquote credit roll is 50, and then you're going above the 100. That's just
Right.
too much. That's just
Yeah.
really too much. Even stuff like, yeah, like you see with like JRPGs and stuff, you have this like resurgence of love for these classics and stuff like that, but a lot of them are very, very long.
Yeah.
And kind of Square's struggled with that Final Fantasy like remake duology so far, becoming a trilogy very soon. But like Rebirth is just huge.
Way
It's
too long.
very, very big, and people had major problems with how big that is. And that's why I think you had that massive, like obnoxious like counter of when Expedition came in, because it was like you can make these games very streamlined and still function in the way that like a lot of your core player base want, even though you said that you can't do it. Um, but it's just budget. It's just managing that budget as well, and it's good to see that I'm assuming you saw it. They turned around and was like, "Yeah, we're not going to be staffing up just because we had like a massive success." Dude, don't. The moment you
Yeah.
staff up, like you can probably technically make a prettier game, a bigger game, and stuff like that. But then it loses the whole point as to what that game stood for in the first place, which was that it was very bite sized for what it was, very restrained, and very artistic. The more people you add into that, the less all of that becomes. And it just becomes more
Agree.
and more muddy. It's why you see stuff like Capcom's been really, really fucking intelligent as of late. Reuse assets, very
Oh
smart.
yeah.
RGG, dude, there's a reason that they slowly snowballed in the way that they did. You
From
know,
soft.
yeah, FromSoft as well, reusing a lot of Elden Ring stuff to be able to just do like a small little spin-off game,
Yeah.
and it sold way more copies than I ever imagined it would. But that just shows you like the moment you make it into the mainstream eye, because a lot of people know what Elden Ring is. It got so big that it became that kind of Witcher free thing of like, even if you don't know what gaming is, you can. Some people just know it by name, and that just shows the power of it. So,
Yeah. And I think another big thing is like when you're looking at Astrobot that came out in 2024 and
mm,
we still haven't got official sales figures and they like touting official sales figures. Sony does.
yep,
I think that says something, and that is as tight, as lean, as polished, as high quality as you can get. And it's like you see people talking about, we want Sly Cooper, not Ghost of 3. And it's like, I agree. I do too. I want Infamous, I want Sly Cooper, but I unfortunately Hi-Fi Rush doesn't sell. Unfortunately, Astrobot doesn't sell. Unfortunately, these small scale 8 hour, incredibly well made, handcrafted, beautiful, beautiful products in my mind don't expand beyond our mind. Like it doesn't appeal to a wider majority of people, which like I can't blame you for going and making another Ghost of whatever in a new Japan, timeline or whatever the case may be.
no,
I
because
can't blame you
it's
for going and making it in Kingdom Come 3.
exactly because if it's blowing up to the point of selling that well in an industry where things like they can sink so quickly. You look
Right.
at the Order 1886 and stuff like that, and people are like, "Oh, I'm very nostalgic for that now." Well, you weren't back then. You didn't care for it back then, and look, like if you wanted them games, you would have gone and bought them, but you didn't because they weren't worth it to you then as they are now. When it's a really deep sell, you have a different perspective. Because if they released the Order 1886 right now, full price, it'd get torn to shreds. Because it would
Oh
be
yeah.
what, a 5 hour game and stuff like that. It doesn't matter how beautiful it looks. It's just, yeah, like you get nostalgic for things as they disappear, over time and stuff like that. And it's the same with, like you said, the Sly Cooper thing. I did see that, and man, 3D platformers, unless they're on the Switch, they struggle. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter how good they are, like you said with Astrobot. Won tons of awards. It was many people's game of the year, and you know, there's been no announcement that there's going to be another one of them for being as well received, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get another Astro for sure.
Yeah, but it's
Just
they're not rushing out the door to do it. Is the thing like
yeah,
they would do with other stuff, you know?
I a thing that I'm really curious about, and this is kind of I guess I'll hit this is a prediction I'll throw out there
Mm.
before we wrap up. I think a big thing we're gonna see by 2035 is so 10 years from now, I think we're gonna see I want to say two, but I'm going to say at least one game win game of the year that's not on a console at all. I think that that is
Holy
such a
shit! Hold on. Yeah, no. When was the last time that happened?
never. It's, I mean, maybe you could go to like some independent site, like PC centric site that would award, Fallout one or two. I don't know, but like in terms of mainstream, it's definitely never happened in the Spike
Mm.
or the TGA era that we're in now, with Keeley's award show. So since 2003 to 2025, it's never happened. But I I think we're on the precipice. You look at Schedule One, dude, and you look at these games are massive. Mega Bonk.
Mm.
These games are humongous. And I think it's going to because they're just so easy to steam the entire process of creating a game, putting it available for purchase on Steam. It is such a more
Oh yeah.
streamlined effort for an individual like, solo dev than going through all the checks and balances and all the crossing T's and dotting I's to get it available on PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, whatever. I think in by 2035 we see a PC exclusive. I think that's actually going to become because it's already becoming a selling point for me where I'm looking at these games like the Root Trees Are Dead and Keep Driving and these different titles, Mega Bonk, Schedule One, whatever. And I'm looking at these different games. I can't play them anywhere else.
Hmm.
I think you are going to start hearing about PC exclusives as like a selling point to get a Steam machine too. And it's not even going to be Valve's doing. Like, I don't
No.
even know if they'll make a Half-Life 3. It'll just be some indie developer who made a
Yep.
banger and they didn't have the
It's
resources to put it on PlayStation.
it's the balls already began rolling. Like we've said, the numbers are growing, and if they keep it up with that, it is like it's a drawing in point for people because you had a similar experience in what was it 2014, 2015 Daisy, right? Stuff like that when that was like
Mm.
really dominating and that was the only way to play it, and you did have a few people jump ship, and then it did finally come over to consoles. There was a period of time where stuff like them titles, they can't run on a 360, so they would never make their way to a 360 and stuff like that. But you didn't have as big of an audience. It felt like the gaming's grown extra, like stupidly big in comparison to 360. So you have now that drive to want to experience these games, especially when you have such things as like how big Twitch has got and how big people who show off games on YouTube has got. And they're being very smart, these indie developers. You give them codes to these people because that's free marketing, man.
Mhm.
Dune Awakening wouldn't have got as big as it was if like Carnage wasn't covering it. That's a huge player
Right.
base, and he has such a huge platform, and he loves the game so much. And on top of that, I don't know if you saw the clip. They because another game failed, they benefited from it greatly because they were able to. People ran with that headline of Mind's Eye pulling his what was it,
Yeah, and then he
sponsorship,
just
and he
boots
just
up.
boots up Dune
Yeah.
Awakening straight away, and he's just like, well, we're gonna go back to this then. He didn't have to play that. That's just free marketing. You can
Yeah.
only play that on PC at the moment, and that's the kind of thing of like that just being wired into your head. You know, these
Yeah.
games could come to console, and I think Dune Awakening is coming soon. But it's that type of thing of like we as a species don't we're not patient. We don't really like to wait for stuff. So if this
Right.
happens again and again and again and again and again, you just eventually at some point go, well, fuck this. I'm gonna go there because I can get 90% of that stuff, and that's that's probably the sentiment that a lot of people have felt with Xbox now that they've gone multi-platform. Is that well, if you're putting these on PlayStation, I'll get PlayStation games and that. And it's the same with
Well,
PC as well. If some people moved from PlayStation to PC because they see PlayStation exclusives go over there. It's obviously not been to the movement that it has been with Xbox, but people have been doing that. They happily just move over there.
dude, the reason I bought this damn Steam Deck is because I was looking at Game Informer's website and a game called Rue Valley, which is kind of a Disco Elysium like,
Mm.
is coming out next month. And I think it actually is coming to console, but it might just be at a later date or whatever. Or it might be coming day and date. But at the time when I looked, it said PC only.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, this thing's $320 right now. Whatever. There's too many of them at this point. There's too many
Because
games that
you
are,
because you'll dip in for that specific title, but you know 100 that it's not going to change. There will be 10 more, and 10
yeah.
more, and 10 more, and 10 more.
Yeah, I bought Megabonk. I bought Root Trees Are Dead. I bought Keep Driving. I bought is Keep Driving the name of that? Regardless, I bought a lot of these titles. I'm gonna grab Schedule One. Like I want to play these games. You know what I mean? I see them and they look appealing to me. And it's it's not the common sentiment yet, but I think it's going to be soon. Where I don't think people look at PC as like the place. You don't. Well, you go buy a Nintendo or a PlayStation for your exclusive games. If you want to play Halo, you buy an Xbox. Like that's just been traditional thinking forever. But I think it's actually just with the rise of the indie scene. I'm not saying it's gonna outdo fucking
No,
Nintendo first party. I'm not
no.
crazy, but I'm saying like I think that that's gonna be a big selling point for getting into PC gaming. It's like these solo devs, they don't have the resources to put their stuff elsewhere, and the games are so good. We want to go play them, so we're gonna go buy a Steam machine too.
Well, it's also going to be the thing as well. You look at like how many copies Hollow Knight sold on Steam, and how many copies like Megabonk's selling, and these like smaller titles. I don't like you said. It's very easy to just put them on Steam rather than consoles, because when you
Yeah.
put it on consoles as well, even with it just being the small amount of percentage players, every time an indie game drops, you get immediately negative PR if that ain't got a physical copy, which costs money to do. And like that
Yeah.
will be drug through the dirt through some people, and they'll just be like, well, I'm not going to buy the copy then. And that just sends like the really direct negative message to an indie developer where they're like, well, why am I going to bother? You know, why don't I wait until
Right.
it's successful on PC and then pulled it over, which is what you saw a lot through the Xbox One generation and PS4,
Yeah.
where they succeeded on PC and then ported over consoles at a later date, um, which is probably what's going to continue happening.
Yeah.
You've seen a
Absolutely.
couple like here and there, but even like Hades and stuff like that, you can get very smart, even just timed exclusivity for a short period of time. I think Limbo was it Inside. It was one of the
Limbo.
Playdate games was exclusive to Xbox for like a week,
Yeah, it was Limbo.
and it was like it's that type of thing of like just take a little bit of like a money boost to just if you're gonna put it on a console because it's
Yeah.
a hell of a lot fucking harder to put them on there. And
Absolutely.
if you're doing that timed exclusivity thing, that means you got a foot in the door directly with that hardware manufacturer, so they will help you a lot more.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Shit, yeah, dude. I think it's gonna kind of become a thing. The PC exclusive is gonna come back, but I think it's gonna come back in an even bigger way than it ever has before. But yeah, and that's kind of my final throw it out there prediction.
It's kind of crazy as well. We've seen a big shifting change on your perspective over it's such a short period of time in a year because you didn't
With
really
what?
have as much. Well, you didn't really have as much like of a drive to really jump to PC and try it out.
Oh,
Say
I
back in
don't want to
January.
now.
No, but you
I
got the Steam Deck.
still.
You have that like balancing act where it's that's your foot in the door kind of thing, and that's good enough.
Mhm.
Um, so it's good to see like that being embraced in any form.
Yeah, I always wanted a Steam Deck ever since they were first announced. I just
Mm,
couldn't really figure out the way to sell myself on it. And then whenever I started seeing as many games like not release on console
mm.
or take forever to release on console, and then the price point of 300 fucking bucks, I'm like, sure, dude. I mean, I'm looking at $900 devices being launched, and all I want this for is indie
I
games
was
and emulators.
I was literally about to again as well. I doubt you're going to be looking to play AAA top of the
God,
line
no.
things. It's the indies that are shackled over there that won't come
Yeah,
off. Um,
absolutely.
yeah. Well, that was a topic of branching webs. I'm gonna have fun time stamping this fucking thing. I should have been doing that from
Yeah.
the get go. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I found that I just kind of skip ahead through my shit that I make and just whatever it lands on, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like it's probably something worth time stay, but I just skip ahead another 10 minutes. Like, yeah, that sounds. I don't think people necessarily really like care to I because I'll say this for me. I like timestamps being there, but I often don't really use them. Like I often just throw it on in the background and just
Mm,
let it play as I'm driving or whatever. But I like to know that they're there just in case, like maybe there's some part of a conversation where people are talking about like something I just don't have interest in. Then I quickly pick up my phone and I just get to the next timestamp when it's not this topic that if you're diving into a deep discussion about some game that I want to play.
yep.
And, I don't want to get any
Mm.
mild spoiler. And I just quickly skip it real quick and then I just let it run. So I think that's how most people look at long form content, but I also could be full of shit.
You could be the loud minority on the internet,
Very
thinking that
much
only
so.
you exist. Um, but yeah, man, that was a joke. I think that's the longest one we've done so far. 2 hours.
Yeah, and there's actually stuff still here on the chopping room floor. You had an IP that should make a return.
Yeah, we
Um,
can quickly knock them out.
yeah, I mean, I don't it whatever. I'm not either which way. I'll quickly an IP that I wanted to make a return, Parasite Eve, Dino Crisis. Of course, I've talked about both of those 100 times. I'd kill for a return of either of those.
Hmm. I think in the Discord, somebody was linking trailers to like indie games that were like mimicking it, I believe.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Like,
there's
there's definitely
there's
hunger for them as well. Um, it's just that thing of, do you think, because who was it, Square or Capcom that owned Dino Crisis? Capcom, right?
Capcom owns Dino Crisis, Square owns Parasite Eve, but they don't
Yep.
actually own the name Parasite Eve. That's a novel that they licensed out,
Ah,
unfortunately.
okay.
But there's that, yeah, Parasite Mutant game or Mutant Parasite, Night of the Mutant Parasite or whatever it's called, where it's very Parasite Eve inspired. That's coming out next year, I think. And then Dino Crisis, you have like uh that horrible the people who made Quantum Error that was very
Oh
bad.
yeah.
They're making a dinosaur game that's coming out this year.
Do you think they'll be keeping an eye on that to see if there's interest? Do you think they care about gauging that at all? Like Capcom and
Uh,
Square to look at like if they're obviously not going to compete in the realm of like a Resident Evil selling, but if it sold, 100,000 copies, do you reckon they'd be
I
like,
think I,
maybe?
I think what they should do is like, well, Capcom already did, I guess, re-release Dino Crisis 1 and 2 on PlayStation, but I think that they should, I mean, dude, take a year off of fucking Resident Evil and remake Dino Crisis. It's just, how much Resident Evil do we need? I don't know.
That
I
goes
love
back to
it.
the thing though, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Of like they're selling well, people are enjoying them until they're
There's
sick of it.
always, yeah, there's always a period of oversaturation though.
Hmm.
There's always going to be too much Drake. At some point, there's going to be too much Drake. But what would yours be? if you had to pick?
I I'm probably going to annoy you with this because you're probably sick of hearing it. I would hope that Square are keeping an eye on things. They met with Sandfall. I would hope that that is enough to show them that they. I don't think they should just shed what they've built with that action based stuff that they've been making in Final Fantasy. But I think because it's worrying hearing like Final Fantasy IX remake being in limbo and stuff like that. Because I would hope if you're going to do Nine's remake, keep it turn based. I don't want it in real time. But if you're going to do that, like still give love to turn based and stuff because it shows that it still has the ability to sell. Because they sold shitloads of copies now, right? Last time I looked, like Expedition, like
Of
5 million.
Oh yeah, Expedition's doing better than any JRPG in the last
Like
decade.
it's crazy. So it shows that if there is actual execution there, people buy it. People still do want that. And you're talking about as well the sentiment of like turn-based games not selling particularly well. What Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year. People are
I
really touting Expedition to win Game of the Year. Like these, you don't have to be a Witcher 3 level of sales of like 30 plus million and stuff like that. Like as long as your budget's lean, which is what they are for
yeah.
Expedition, like that's all Square need. Just put a small team and just make something full of heart and soul and stop overthinking it. That's what pisses me off with Square. When they have done Final Fantasy projects that are turn based with the likes of like 13, it takes them fucking years because they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and they don't know what direction they want to take. Just take a small team that all want to make something together, that have a shared vision. Because I think, I can't remember if it was 13 or if it is a different Final Fantasy. When they actually presented it, a lot of their heads didn't even know what they were presenting because in their mind they were doing something and then another person thought it was something else because they've gone back and forth so much they don't know what they've even created. That's not good for a product to have that. So just
What I
make a small like 40-person team of just what do you want to make? Go make that. Here's a really small budget. Make it really lean, fucking cut corners in length. Just make it a 20, 30 hour experience. And I would be very, very shocked if that didn't sell really well.
The only thing though is like when you bring up Baldur's Gate 3 and Expedition 33, you also got to take into account that those two games are extremely fucking innovative and are doing a lot more like in comparison to what else is on the market, it's night and day. You know what I mean? Like when you look at the CRPGs comparable to Baldur's Gate 3, it's like it's not even fucking close in terms of
Yeah,
production
and
value
cinematic
and
flair and stuff like that. But the thing is, what like people slept on games that have done for Expedition 33. Like a lot of the stuff for Expedition 33 isn't the first time. Many games have done stuff like that similar. They just have added a very, very pretty coat of paint to it. That's the biggest difference. It's a
so
mature story with modern graphics.
which other JRPGs have had that type of parry system and that type of
You
like
what was it?
Sea of Stars?
Wild Arm was that? There's the older JRPGs that did it. You had, like I've said before, Lost Odyssey had a very similar system. So that this is the thing, they've perfected it. That's the big difference, is that these have existed, they've just done it the best
I know
in the
they've
way.
existed, but like that type of combat that with that level of
Not
like
defensively, no. That's
yeah.
been the missing piece that they fixed.
I know they've always had offensive,
Yep.
you know, real-time elements in
Yep.
JRPGs, but that parry system is,
Hmm.
I think that's the key
That's
kind
the
of
missing
element that
piece.
gets people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that's necessarily hard to emulate. Like I think others will be
No.
able to come along and do that
No,
just fine.
you're gonna see people mimic that. You're gonna see a ton of indie little JRPGs doing it.
Totally. Yeah.
And
And as they
that's what
should.
it should. That's the whole point of it's what annoys me when things get patented. It just blocks creativity. Think of if the Nemesis system wasn't locked down. How many great games could have utilized that?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's sad. So yeah, I'd want that to what do you call it? A good turn-based Final Fantasy game. And then an upcoming studio. Hmm. That
So
you
an
hope
upcoming studio
thrives,
that you hope thrives.
over the next decade.
Hope for me would be Remedy. Expect,
Hmm.
like, I don't know if I expect Remedy to thrive over the next decade. I think they like making weird shit so much and they'll just keep making weird shit, and which is what I want them to make, but it's hard for weird shit to really elevate into the mainstream consciousness, but I hope that it's Remedy. Expect I expect Tango to thrive over the next decade.
Ooh.
I expect that they probably two new games in the next 10 years. Hi-Fi Rush 2 certainly. But I think the thing that pops is something new that they make. But that also would mean that Crafton needs that Enzoi game to hit
Hmm.
and make them a fucking ton of money so that they can give Tango a little bit of freedom.
Hmm. Okay. So kind of a little bit of a cheat because they you could say that their first game was a success, but I it didn't get the greatest like first impressions, and a lot of the sales that they got were from deep cut sales, so it kind of skews that number. But Warhorse, like, I think that they could take that next step. Like they're so close. They're
What
so
do you
close
think?
to being.
Do they got to get away from KCD?
I don't think that they need to do that. I think when you get like this level of success, there's an expectation to start juggling multiple projects. And I think that's what they should begin to start looking to do. It's a difficult transition, but it's the type of thing like that's what you kind of do have, like with CDPR. Like they can't just survive off of making The Witcher. You need other stuff. So I think KCD free or whatever they want to do. If they don't want to, I don't know how the game ends. I don't know if Henry's still kicking about. Like if that's going to continue a story of his, or if you go to a different time period, but it's in the same bones and foundations of that, and just keeping that going, that would be fun. But I think them going and doing something else on top of that is what would allow them to jump. Because that's the thing. Like if you don't care for grounded, realistic settings, it doesn't matter how good their game is. There's going to be people out there that just don't care and won't
I
touch it.
don't even I don't even think it's the grounded realistic setting. I think it's the period Bohemia medieval kind of like I think that if they made I'd be so down to see old dude Daniel Vara return to his roots with because like he started off, I shouldn't say started off, but he was the lead creative behind the first Mafia game. And I'd be so down to see a super simulated version because like Mafia 1 initially was so simmy and like having to, follow all the traffic rules and abide by those laws and get gas and like all of that shit. I would be so down. I know that would be very expensive in comparison to something like a Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. There'd be so many more mechanics and shit, but I
That would
I
be
don't know.
perfect though, would it not? Like
Right.
as a expectation or as a hope and stuff like that. It seems like it's out there, but look what they accomplished on the budget of KCD2. You could easily do that budget again, maybe a little bit more, and
Yeah,
be fine, and then have a massive. This is what again. It's you need to mimic what has been successful. But Larian did this. They were very smart
absolutely.
with Divinity 1, Divinity 2, and then they fucking broke the bank with Baldur's Gate 3. But look what it got them.
Yeah.
Same with like Dark Souls and stuff like that. Dark Souls kind of had limited, tame budgets, and then Elden Ring fucking blew that door open. And that's what you need. You need to build that foundation of hope, trust, and expectation, and then shatter that by giving like a fucking product that you're like, holy shit, I didn't even think that they were capable of doing that. I
For
think that could
sure.
be the definite thing of like you said, go back to your roots. A mafia like first person game
Yeah.
like that because they
Sopranos vibes.
because that's the thing as well. The Sopranos, when you're watching it, it's not they're not sprinting around fucking
No.
gunning people down. It's a lot of diplomacy and
Yeah.
talking and that kind of back and forth, which you know as a perfect example, one of your favorite moments in KCD2 is just that. It's
Just
politics.
that. I think all the best moments are just that, man.
Mm.
Like it's slow plotting and yeah, but
You go back to like The Godfather and stuff like that. They're slow paced films, but they're fucking
absolutely.
great.
Shit, yeah, dude. Well, this is a fucking blast, man. I I would kill to see Warhorse make a fucking Sopranos style slow paced mafia sim, but
Hell
I think we'll be playing KCD3. And hey,
yeah.
that's probably a smart move as well. But they do have two studios working simultaneously. So, anywho, I'll
Oh,
get out your hair, man.
I thought you was gonna attack the low hanging fruit like you always do and say as long as they give me the ability to sweep legs.
Oh, dude, yeah, that has to be a feature in the next game. You gotta let me stab a motherfucker in the leg.
So yeah, that is a an erratic as always topic, but yeah, it gives plenty of. I'm sure there's one point that at least resonates with somebody that will happily chime in and say, "Jesus Christ, you're so wrong," or "Yeah, that's it." But yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks for joining me as always. Um, your channel will obviously be linked in the description as it always is. Head over there if you somehow stumbled upon this before Brandon's. Crazy good content. You've been killing it lately with them video topics. They've been blown up
Appreciate that.
very nice.
Appreciate it, broski. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's I'm I'm I'm, I'm pumped for our next chat on over
Mm.
here. We've been rolling out every week, every other week, something like that. So just hit me up with the next topic, man, and I
Yep.
shall be here, my friend. I always appreciate the invite.
Thank you. And thank you for always joining me. And if you want to also join the Discord, pop a message down below and I'll hit you back with the link. Um, I don't think I think we when we chatted last is when was launching the Shocktober thing in the Discord. That's been going really well. Tons of
Dope,
people have
man.
been tapping in.
Shit,
Um,
yeah.
and I finished RE4.
The
I
original.
don't have the greatest experience with it. I think I'm gonna piss people off when we do the ending month things. Yeah, I did. There was a Project Zero game, RE4, Silent Hill F. I think Alien Isolation. I did as well, and I'm on to Chronos now
Oh, fuck yeah. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on Chronos.
because I was gonna dip into Observer, but I was like, I don't. After
Need to do
Alien
any more
Isolation,
walking.
I appreciate it for what it is, but fucking Christ, there's just a lot of walking, and I was like, I don't want to
Yeah.
do that again. And I'm playing through Chronos. I'm about 2 hours in. One of the most unique experiences. Like I won't
Yeah.
blow my hand giving like full impressions, but like I wasn't expecting this.
We'll push the rankings a bit. Maybe do it like October 26th, 7th, something like that. That way maybe you'll have time to finish it or get closer to finishing it.
Mm.
Because I really want to hear your full thoughts on it. I love that damn game.
Yeah, the hope is to finish that before the train wreck that seems to be Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Oh man. Yeah.
I think it's gonna
Well,
be another swan song of me defending it.
I mean, it doesn't seem that bad. Hey, we'll get into it when we get into it for the rankings, man. That'll because I'm gonna jump into Bloodlines 2 as well.
Oh, you are grabbing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Shit, yeah, dude. I appreciate it.